The way we're going to work everything after our lunch break is we're going to have our third presenter, then we're going to bring back all of our presenters back down again for the question panel, and then we're going to take a short break while we set up for our mele Aloha ʻāina section of the symposium as well. Yes, please stay for all of it. Are you good? Are we good? Okay. Our third presenter today is Dr. Keanu Sai. Dr. Sai is a lecturer in political science and Hawaiian studies at the University of Hawaii Windward Community College and at the University of Hawaii at Mānoa College of Education Graduate Division. Dr. Sai received his PhD in political science from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, specializing in international relations and law. His research and publications have centered on the continued existence of the Hawaiian Kingdom as an independent state. Dr. Sai also served as the lead agent for the Council of Regency, representing the Hawaiian Kingdom at the Permanent Court of Arbitration in Larson versus Hawaiian Kingdom from 1999 to 2001. Dr. Sai is currently serving as chair of the Royal Commission of Inquiry. He will be presenting today on his work entitled The Royal Commission of Inquiry, published in Volume 3 of the Hawaiian Journal of Law and Politics, and also in the books that you guys received today. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Keanu Sai.
Okay. Can I take this off?
You go walk around?
I just going to be back here. Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that everybody came here to receive this information, and I'm glad that my colleagues were able to make it from Europe. And you know what I really like about this? You will notice if you're a parent, right? You tell your son or your daughter something, and they don't listen. But when another person says the same thing, they go, "Dad, Uncle said, that's what I said." So mahalo, Bill, for being an uncle. Mahalo, Suzanne, for being an auntie. And mahalo, Federico, for being another uncle. So my job here is to present on the Royal Commission of Inquiry, right? And we're covering what was published. Okay, and that's what you folks can access. And the books that you folks have reflect the information that I'll be speaking to. Okay. Now, I use a PowerPoint differently from others. I actually use a PowerPoint as my prepared statement when I give a presentation. So as people would read from a prepared statement for their presentation, and the focus is on that person, what I do is read from my PowerPoint so you can actually follow, right? And I put some bells and whistles and all that. So that was the plan until I showed up here. And the laptop is here because the cables are not long enough to put it here. I'm like, So Federico was even thrown off because we were preparing. Okay, now we got to go here. So what I'm going to do, okay. No. So what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to step back from the podium and do my presentation from here. Is that okay? Okay. So, and the reason why it's my script is because that's when I know I'm within the time limit. That's the main thing, and that's what I practice. Okay. So, the Hawaiian Kingdom was one of only 44 independent states in the 19th century. Today, there's over 193. I say over because you have 193 members of the United Nations that are independent states, but not all states are members of the United Nations, like Cook Islands. Oops. Na'i, there's a Zoom thing that I can't get to. Oh, okay, got it. Okay. Now, the Hawaiian Kingdom was also a recognized neutral state in the 19th century, along with Belgium, Luxembourg, Sweden and Norway. That was a Swedish-Norwegian kingdom, which now exists as two separate states, and Switzerland. The Hawaiian Kingdom, its literacy was actually second to Scotland. And Aboriginal Hawaiians received universal health care at no cost at Queen's Hospital since 1959. The Hawaiian Kingdom's political economy was a mixed economy similar to the Nordic countries of today, Norway, Sweden, Finland. Now, in 1849, the Hawaiian Kingdom entered into a treaty with the United States of a most favored nation status, a treaty of friendship, commerce, and navigation. And Article 1 specifically states here that there shall be perpetual peace and amity between the United States and the King of the Hawaiian Islands, his heirs and successors. At this time of this treaty, Hawaii was a constitutional monarchy. So it's not limited to Kamehameha III in his person, but the successors to Kamehameha III are the subsequent monarchs, right? Which would include not just the Kamehameha dynasty, but also, okay, we got this, Ezzy. It's happening again. Oh, what did you hit?
Return.
Okay, I got it. I got to hit return. This is not my laptop. Okay. So the successors not only included the Kamehameha dynasty that ended with Kamehameha V, Lat Kapuaiwa, but also included Lunalilo, who was not of the Kamehameha dynasty, and Kalakaua, who also was not of the Kamehameha dynasty, but they were the successors and heirs to Kamehameha III. Now, Article 8 is a very important provision of this treaty. It says, and each of the two contracting parties engages that the citizens or subjects of the other residing in their respective states shall enjoy their property and personal security in as full and ample manner as their own citizens or subjects, but subject always to the laws and statutes of the two countries respectively. So when Americans are in the Hawaiian Kingdom, they are subject to Hawaiian Kingdom law. When Hawaiian subjects are in America, they are subject to American law. That speaks to the effect of what is called an independent state. Now, Judge Green of the International Court of Justice states, traditional international law was based upon a rigid distinction between the state of peace and a state of war. Countries were either in a state of peace or a state of war. There was no intermediate state. Acts of war, acts of war by the military of a state triggers a state of war, not a declaration. So an act of war is a situation of a factual issue, not a legal issue. And a state of war includes military occupation. Now, by direction of Queen Lili'uokalani, President Cleveland, in March of 1893, initiated the investigation of the overthrow of the government of the Hawaiian Kingdom, which occurred on January 17, 1893. On December 18th, 11 months later, where the investigation was complete, he reported to the United States Congress his findings and conclusions. He stated to the Congress on the 16th day of January, 1893, between 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a detachment of Marines from the United States steamer Boston with 2 pieces of artillery landed at Honolulu. The men, upwards of 160 in all, were supplied with double cartridge belts filled with ammunition and with haversacks and canteens, and were accompanied by a hospital corps with stretchers and medical supplies. He then concluded, this military demonstration upon the soil of Honolulu was of itself an act of war. That is the fact that triggered state of war from a state of peace. So as Professor Chavez said, international humanitarian law, when the military, we call it the law of armed conflict, that came into play. Now, the president also told the Congress that the government of the Queen was undisputed and was both the de facto and the de jure government in both fact and law. That when our Minister John Stevens, recognized the provisional government, the only basis upon which it rested was the fact that the Committee of Safety declared it to exist. It was neither a government de facto nor de jure, and that's important. So he's clarifying that these individuals were never a government, but yet, prior to the investigation done by President Cleveland, they were claiming to be the government, as if they were the ones who overthrew the Queen. No, in fact, it was the Marines. And then he concluded, by an act of war, with the participation of a diplomatic representative of the United States, and without authority of Congress, the government of a feeble but friendly and confiding people has been overthrown. He also concluded, and this is important because every time you hear about those individuals in 1893, they're always referred to as the businessmen, yeah? American businessmen overthrew. I can assure you, businessmen don't overthrow anything. Military does. Maybe the businessmen paid the military to do it, but you physically have to overthrow something with military force. That, in this case, was an act of war. He clarified that the provisional government owes its existence to an armed invasion by the United States. So the president's message to the Congress is laced with all these terms regarding war, regarding sovereignty, regarding government. These acts of war committed by the United States triggered a state of war with the Hawaiian Kingdom and the law of occupation. On December 18, 1893, okay, Kalabaya, it's there again. Oh, okay, got it. On December 18, 1893, the same day of Cleveland's message to Congress, the Queen agreed to the conditions of granting amnesty to the insurgents after she's restored, because President Cleveland concluded they were never a government, but they committed the crime of high treason under Hawaiian Kingdom law. You get prosecuted and convicted by a jury, you get executed. So he felt, in order to deal with this mess, to get a confirmation from the Queen that she would commit to grant amnesty to these insurgents after she's restored. Now, international law calls this type of an agreement an executive agreement by exchange of notes, which is a treaty. Annexationists in Congress, however, blocked Cleveland from restoring the Queen, that consequently left the insurgents without amnesty and therefore fugitives. This paints a very different picture of Sanford Dole. He's not an American businessman. He was actually a judge on the Hawaiian Kingdom Supreme Court who committed high treason, and the President of the United States was seeking amnesty to be given him. That's very different than Sanford Dole, the American businessman who took over because the Queen was not running Hawaii properly. No. Under this treaty, the United States admits that the members of the provisional government were never a government, but rather insurgents guilty of treason. Now, this guilt of treason refers to everyone in the provisional government that went against the Hawaiian government. Everyone. Not just the haole. Any Hawaiian subject. And these Hawaiian subjects included natives. So the issue here is about allegiance, not race, not culture, and that's important. Now, according to Professor Cohen, the state must be distinguished from the government, as you folks are starting to understand. The state, not the government, is the major player, the legal person in international law. And according to Judge Crawford, there is a presumption that the state continues to exist with its rights and obligations despite a period in which there is no effective government. So going to Professor Lanzarini's statement that effectiveness creates sovereignty, no, but if the government is overthrown, the state exists even though they don't have effective control. But it reverses what effective control means, because the entity or the occupying power that has overthrown the government and is in effective control, they don't get sovereignty. They have the obligation to serve as that temporary agent of the government that was overthrown, where they have to administer the laws of the occupied state. Sovereignty, though, is not even touched. It belongs to the state. And Judge Crawford from the International Court of Justice said, and belligerent occupation does not affect the continuity of the state, even when there exists no government claiming to represent an occupied state. What's important here is that whether we believed it or not, that the Hawaiian Kingdom exists or doesn't exist, international law actually preserved its existence without us even knowing it. So what is happening here, we're just starting to realize that. So international law actually protect the country from being taken over legally. Now, according to Professor Brown, he's going to explain this effective control during occupation. So after the defeat of Nazi Germany in the Second World War, the four major Allied powers assumed supreme power in Germany with effective control. The legal competence of the German state did not, however, disappear. What occurred is akin to legal representation or agency of necessity. The German state continued to exist, and indeed the legal basis of the occupation depended on its existence. The United States, in its sector of occupation of Germany, they administered German law and the law of occupation. And here's their sector, which is noted here on the map. So we have the state recognized in the 19th century. You had a Hawaiian Kingdom government, very progressive. That government was found to have been illegally overthrown by the president of the government that overthrew it, although he was a subsequent administration. But the overthrow of that government did not equate to the overthrow of the state. And what we have here, this is a map of the American occupation of the Hawaiian Kingdom. And it's in your folks' book, the Royal Commission of Inquiry. Now, customary international law in 1893 obligated the United States as the occupying state to administer the laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom and not the laws of the United States when they are in effective control of the territory. This obligation, as Professor Shabas explained, has been codified under Article 43 of the 1907 Hague Regulations and Article 64 of the 1949 Fourth Geneva Convention. So it's very important here to know that when you're looking at Hawaii's situation in 1893, you have to look at what was the law at that time, not take the law now and try to apply it retroactively. So when you say customary international law, which is law, it was merely codified in 1907, not that it was created in 1907, and that's important. The U.S. did not administer the Hawaiian Kingdom law, and instead unilaterally annexed the Hawaiian Islands in 1898 during the Spanish-American War. Now, why would the United States even do this on January 17, 1893, which would now take us to 1898 Spanish-American War? They wanted Hawaii as a military outpost, Pearl Harbor. That was the driving force. In order to, they say, protect the United States from an invasion by Japan. The problem is, the Hawaiian Kingdom is a state. If the kingdom is going to be a part of the United States to become an outpost, you need a treaty. So, the question here is, how does a state acquire the territory of another state under international law, which was reflected by Professor Lenzerini with regard to a treaty? So according to Professor Oppenheim, cession of state territory is the transfer of sovereignty over state territory by the owner state to another state. And the only form in which a cession can be effected is an agreement embodied in a treaty between the ceding and the acquiring state. So here we have two sovereign states represented by their governments. One government will cede territory to another during a state of peace or to bring a state of war to an end. So let's take a look at the United States. Here's the United States, very large territory. Majority of the territory of the United States today was actually under the sovereignty of other states. The first state to cede territory to the United States by treaty, Louisiana Purchase, 1803, from France. Followed by Spain in 1819, the British in 1846, and Alaska by the Russians in 1867. Now, all territory, Mexican territory, north of the Rio Grande, was transferred by a treaty of peace, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848, that brought the state of war between Mexico and the United States to an end. So, what's the authority of Hawaii cession? A joint resolution of annexation passed by the United States Congress, House and Senate, signed into law by President McKinley. The joint resolution is a municipal law, as we say, not international law. And it was enacted by the Congress. A joint resolution, it's not a treaty. But everybody here in Hawaii, you notice how we say ceded lands? Right? It's part of our language, ceded lands. Well, ceded lands refers to cession. Something was ceded. Where's a treaty? Say we have a joint resolution. That's not a treaty. That's a unilateral act, which is not cession. It's called annexation, because annexation is a unilateral act of grabbing, right, or extending. Cession is transferring. It's a bilateral act, which then would allow the annexed territory to come under the territory of the United States. That's again, terminology. So whenever you hear the word ceded lands, please correct everyone. It's called seized lands. So what were the senators saying back then? And the House of Representatives? Many of them were very explicit as to the limitation of a joint resolution of annexation. So here we have Senator William Allen from Nebraska. They're debating the joint resolution in the Senate. He states on the record that the Constitution and statutes are territorial in their operation. That is, they cannot have any binding force or operation beyond the territorial limits of the government in which they are promulgated. In other words, the Constitution and statutes, which includes the joint resolution, cannot reach across the territorial boundaries of the United States into the territorial domain of another government and affect that government or persons or property therein. So what he's basically saying is, you folks are saying we can annex Hawaii by passing a law. Our laws only go and they remain in our territory. Well, nevertheless, again, they're driven by imperialism. They want Hawaii, military outposts. Annexationists is driving it. Yeah, so what? We'll deal with Hawaii later. So 2 years later, the US Congress passes an act establishing the territory of Hawaii. But if you read that territorial document, it basically renames itself from the Republic of Hawaii, which the Republic of Hawaii renamed itself from the Provisional Government, which the Provisional Government renamed itself from the Hawaiian Kingdom government. So what you're seeing here is just a takeover of an already existing governmental infrastructure, not a new government. And this is what is called regime change. So in 1900, they created government for the territory of Hawaii. Then in 1959, the United States Congress passes another law, municipal law, changing the name from the territory of Hawaii to the state of Hawaii. And then in 1993, the United States Congress passed another joint resolution where they apologize for the illegal overthrow at its 100th anniversary from 1893. And this joint resolution of annexation is riddled with misinformation. And it paints the image as if this is a native issue because they only apologize to native Hawaiians. And they use a colonial context saying you must negotiate with the state of Hawaii. And that's what led to the Akaka Bill, trying to get native Hawaiians recognized as a federally recognized Indian tribe. Okay. The problem is, it's still just an American law. They can pass a joint resolution proclaiming Dr. Keanu Sai as King Kamehameha X. You know, I'm not, but maybe if I go into American territory, I might be treated differently. It has no effect over here. I'm still Keanu. So what we have here is a takeover of governmental infrastructure. Okay? So the Hawaiian Kingdom had 3 branches of government and an executive monarch in 1893. The only thing changed was the Queen and her cabinet. Everyone in government were forced to sign oaths of allegiance. And that is where we have that song, Kalana Napua. Do not sign the paper of the enemy with its sin of annexation and loss of Hawaiian civil rights. That's in the lyrics. It's not talking about the 4 winds of Mānoa. That's a heavy, heavy song, which will be shared with you by Navai Ho'olu. Yeah, so we're going to get some good music going. So all they did in 1894 was change the name from the Provisional Government to the Republic, then change the name from the Republic to the Territory, then the name changed to the State of Hawaii. Governmental infrastructure, same. Police department, same. Back then, they used to be called constables, not police. All the courts, from then. All the tax office, then. The Interior Department, which is called Department of Land and Natural Resources, no, that's actually the Interior Department. So what they did was just change the color, but the same system. And that's important, because that is going to inform how we're going to engage a very complicated issue. So we're not trying to create another government. No, we need to operate on what actually exists. And eventually, when the occupation ends, name change. Back to its origin. Now, what does the United States Supreme Court say about American law, American municipal laws? Well, the United States versus Curtis Wright Export, it says neither the Constitution, which refers to the federal Constitution, neither the Constitution nor the laws passed in pursuance of it have any force in foreign territory. And operations of the nation in such territory must be governed by treaties, international understandings and compacts, and the principles of international law. What we've been doing is trying to explain in the past Hawaii's situation through American law, which directed us to American Indian law, right? Well, that's wrong if those laws don't apply, because we're still an independent state. We should be looking at our situation through the through treaties, international understandings and compacts, and the principles of international law. And that's what you folks are hearing today. That second approach in interpreting and understanding Hawaii's situation. Now, usurpation of sovereignty, this is what it is. It is the unlawful imposition of the municipal laws and administrative measures of an occupying state over the territory of an occupied state. In 1919, as explained by Professor Chabis, the United States and the other allied powers of the First World War determined that usurpation of sovereignty during military occupation is a war crime. During the First World War, the United States and allied powers charged that Bulgaria ousted Serbian law, courts, and administration. Taxes were collected under a Bulgarian fiscal regime. Serbian currency was suppressed and Serbian public property removed or destroyed. That Germany and Austria suspended Serbian laws and substituted for their own, especially in penal matters, in procedure, and judicial organization. So this is an example of Germany and Bulgaria imposing their sovereignty, and that's what is called usurpation of sovereignty. Okay. Now, since 1898, the United States did exactly what Germany and Bulgaria did in the First World War. The United States unlawfully imposed its municipal laws, administrative measures, and taxes collected under the American fiscal regime over the territory of the Hawaiian Kingdom. They did not administer the fiscal regime of the Hawaiian Kingdom with regard to taxation, but American taxation. When the First World War lasted only 4 years, usurpation of sovereignty during military occupation of the Hawaiian Kingdom is now at 130. Judge Blair of the American Military Commission, established after the Second World War to try war criminals, stated, "This rule is incident to military occupation and was clearly intended to protect the inhabitants of any occupied territory against the unnecessary exercise of sovereignty by military occupant." In the Hawaiian situation, usurpation of sovereignty during military occupation serves as a source for the commission of secondary war crimes that include compulsory enlistment, and this is covered in Professor Chabis' legal opinion. Professor Chabis only covered 3 of those war crimes. These are the other war crimes: denationalization, pillage, destruction of property, deprivation of a fair trial by a court that is illegal, deporting civilians of the occupied territory, and transferring populations of the occupier to the occupied territory. Now, in order to conceal the military occupation of an independent state, the United States deliberately implemented a policy of denationalization through Americanization in 1906. So denationalization is the obliteration of the national consciousness of the occupied state in the minds of school children. You can't change the mind of adults. You go after the children. That's where denationalization occurs. But remember, the First World War only lasted 4 years, so they weren't successful. Look at what happened at 130 years. So when Jason Scott Lee introduced the trailer done by Ben Cohen on the Council of Regency, he also admitted his great-grandparents knew their country. He didn't. And that was all of us. I'm going to explain why. In 1919, the United States and the other Allied powers of the First World War also determined that denationalization is a war crime. During the First World War, the United States and the Allied powers charged that Bulgaria imposed their national characteristics on the Serbian population, banned the Serbian language, people were beaten for saying good morning in Serbian, and the Serbian population forced to be present at Bulgarian national ceremonies. Now, the United Nations War Crimes Commission, established after the Second World War to prosecute war criminals, stated, attempts of this nature were recognized as a war crime in view of the German policy in territories annexed by Germany in 1914. At that time, as during the war of 1939 to 1945, inhabitants of an occupied territory were subjected to measures intended to deprive them of their national characteristics and to make the land and population affected a German province. Well, they attempted to do that in 4 or 5 years. It ended. Again, here's Hawaii, 130 years. So, Samuel Damon, he's an insurgent. He's not a businessman. He's a member of the Provisional Government and the Republic of Hawaii. He was the one that President Cleveland was seeking from the Queen to guarantee he would get amnesty. But she wasn't restored, so he's still a fugitive. And he died a fugitive. Well, in 1895, he made a statement in the records of the so-called Republic of Hawaii, in the cabinet minutes. If we are ever to have peace and annexation, the first thing to do is to obliterate the past. Okay, that's a statement coming from a trustee of the Kamehameha schools at that time. All the trustees, including Charles Reed Bishop, were traitors. They were all insurgents, meaning the Queen was supposed to have granted amnesty to them. But see, after they weren't granted amnesty, well, after the Queen wasn't restored, it allowed them to change the narrative, right? And that's through denationalization. So denationalization is also a crime against humanity and cultural genocide, as stated by Professor Chavez. A very serious issue. Now, the fact that I didn't know anything is the evidence of the crime. That's the evidence. Yeah. Well, here we go. In 1906, a pamphlet titled Program for Patriotic Exercises in the Public Schools was published by the Territorial of Hawaii government, the Department of Public Instruction, also called the DOE. The theme of the program was to indoctrinate the school children of the Hawaiian Islands to be American and to speak English. In 1907, Harper's Weekly magazine sent a reporter to Hawaii, and he did a story on it. They visited 3 schools, Ka'iolani Public School, Ka'ahumanu Public School, and Honolulu High School before the name was changed in 1911 to President William McKinley High School. Part of that denationalization. And here we have over 700 school children commanded by the principal to stand at attention after marching and salute the flag. And they are then commanded to yell in unison, we give our heads and our hearts to God and our country. One country, one language, one flag. This scene shows a salute to the American flag, which flies on the grounds of the Ka'iolani Public School, which has many Japanese pupils. The drill is constantly held as a means of inculcating patriotism in the hearts of the children. Inculcate is to brainwash by repetition. That's inculcate. So right here, for me, this is my tutu's generation, my grandparents' generation. By the time I got to my parents, yeah, my dad was born in 1939, went to St. Louis, right? It's already institutionalized. He didn't know anything. He didn't speak Hawaiian. By the time I got to myself at the Kamehameha schools from 1978 to 1982, out of sight, out of mind. I didn't know anything. In fact, I went off to a military college, New Mexico military, to get a commission as a second lieutenant in the Army. I didn't know. I just wanted to be in the Army because my uncles were in. Not realizing or having any national consciousness of what my great-grandparents had. Yeah, very different. British novelist Dresden James, I love his quote. Not that he was referring to Hawaii, but he made a most appropriate statement in his book. When a well-packaged web of lies has been sold gradually to the masses, over generations, the truth will seem utterly preposterous and its speaker a raving lunatic. I can relate to that because everybody thought I was a lunatic back in the 1990s, but now I'm saying the same thing, but I have alphabets at the end of my name called PhD. So I went from lunatic to expert on the same topic. So according to Professor Rim, okay, and this is where we're going to get into the now what. What do we do in light of the complexity of Hawaii's situation? In a legal sense, we call it sui generis, very unique, right? It's not normal. 130 years of brainwashing, right? That's not normal, but we still got to deal with it. Well, Professor Rim says that the state continues to exist even in the factual absence of government, so long as the people entitled to reconstruct that government remain. And these are Hawaiian subjects. That's the name of the nationality of the Hawaiian Kingdom, which is not ethnic. We use Hawaiian wrong today. We use Hawaiian as if it's an ethnicity, less than or more than 50% blood quantum. In the Hawaiian Kingdom, Hawaiian is short term for the word Hawaiian subject. Like British is a short term for British subject. You can be black, which they included in the kingdom, and be Hawaiian. So we have to keep that in mind as we look into Hawaii's history and not use the lens of the American false narrative, right? So on February 28, 1997, Hawaiian subjects exercised their right of internal self-determination and took the necessary steps to restore the Hawaiian Kingdom government as a regency under the doctrine of necessity and Hawaiian constitutional law, which serves in the absence of a monarch. My training in the Army, I got out as a captain. I was a field artillery officer. We used to go through this all the time, this exercise where we have a battle exercise, the referee comes up, okay, 155 howitzer just blew, okay, captain, you're dead, sergeant, you're dead, lieutenant, you're dead. What are you guys going to do? And that's called assume the chain of command, right? So whoever's a senior officer or enlisted, they assume the chain of command. That is an acting position until a properly commissioned officer or non-commissioned officer comes to relieve them. Then they go back down being a private. So a lot of this in building a plan of action stemmed from my training as an officer. It's just, this is a different crisis, right? And Queen Lili'uokalani died without a successor. She wanted Ka'iolani to be princess, but she died, I believe, in 1899. So when Lili'uokalani passed away, there was no successor, which means the Hawaiian legislative body has to be reconvened to elect a successor, like Lunalilo, like Kalakaua. But until then, the cabinet ministers can serve as a council of regency under Article 33 of the Hawaiian Constitution. So if you want to understand exactly how it was established, it's in the Royal Commission of Inquiry section, which I don't have to go into detail, but it's all there. So addressing over a century of occupation, the Hawaiian Council of Regency was formed similar to the formation of governments in exile during the Second World War. In particular, the Council of Regency was established in similar fashion to the Belgian Council of Regency after King Leopold was captured by the Nazis when they invaded. So Belgian nationals fled to London, established a government in exile as a Council of Regency, serving in the absence of the monarch. As the Belgian Council of Regency was established under Article 82 of the Belgian Constitution of 1821, the Hawaiian Council of Regency was established under Article 33 of the Hawaiian Constitution of 1864. Now you got to have a plan. Okay? As a former officer, you never engage the opposing force with nothing. You gotta have a plan. And before you have a plan, you gotta have intel. So we would call it the command estimate process, right? And that's developing a battle plan. But that battle plan is informed by intel that is verifiable. That's what informs the battle plan on what to do. So we basically came up with our strategic plan. And the strategic plan has to be broad enough to allow tactical maneuvering without changing the strategy. So we start off with 3 phases. Phase 1, verification of the Hawaiian Kingdom as an independent state and subject of international law. That is crucial. As Professor Lenzerini explained, that is at the cornerstone of everything. If the kingdom doesn't exist as a state, what I'm saying is gibberish, right? The state is the issue. Once we get verification by a reputable body, which we didn't know at that time who or what that would be, but once we get verification, then we move to phase 2, exposure. We're now going to expose Hawaiian statehood within the framework of international law and the laws of occupation as it affects the realm of politics and economics at both the international and domestic levels. So let me say in lay terms what phase 2 is. Heat the rock. Get people uncomfortable. Get them screaming, yelling, because you don't scream or yell if it's frivolous. When you scream and yell and you attack, you prove my point, right? That is phase 2, exposure. And phase 2 will focus on truth and accountability, which will eventually lead to phase 3, restoration of the Hawaiian Kingdom, which is when the occupation comes to an end. Okay, so right now, we need to look at phase 1. Well, phase 1 was completed in 1999. Permanent Court of Arbitration verifies the Hawaiian Kingdom continues to exist as a state. That's important. Not a nation, a state. And this was the Lance Larson versus the Hawaiian Kingdom case. And that's me with a lot of hair. Well, you know, I do say, grass doesn't grow on a heavily used road. There's a lot of traffic up here. So the Permanent Court of Arbitration is an intergovernmental organization that creates ad hoc tribunals, meaning you don't have a standing tribunal there like you would walk into the First Circuit Court in Honolulu, right? You have a clerk, you got the judge, you can start. The Permanent Court of Arbitration was established actually in 1899 as a means for for states to resolve their disputes so they don't go to war. So Hague Convention number 1 on the Pacific Settlement of International Disputes is what established the Permanent Court of Arbitration to resolve a dispute. And if they can't resolve it, then they are bound by Hague Convention number 2 and 3, which regulates war. And that's where they codified the laws of war. In 1907, they revamped the Permanent Court of Arbitration and made it much more refined. Now, the United States and other countries, which today counts 120 countries in the world, are all part of the Permanent Court of Arbitration. So their job is to maintain the Permanent Court to resolve disputes. One particular dispute that has gotten international attention is the South China Sea case, China and the Philippines. That was actually at the Permanent Court of Arbitration. Okay, that's where it took place. Now, before the Permanent Court of Arbitration can establish a tribunal made up of experts to resolve a particular dispute, right, they need to establish that they have institutional jurisdiction, meaning one of the parties has to be a state. So, there might be a dispute between 2 states, and if they submit their articles of agreement to arbitrate, then the tribunal has to first verify that they are states. So here we have the Permanent Court of Arbitration's case repository, and it says here, Ecuador versus the United States. So back in 2011, you had a dispute on a treaty, a provision of a treaty. You notice how they identified Ecuador as a state, the Hawaiian Kingdom as a state, the United States as a state. And then they formed a tribunal thereafter to resolve the dispute. They can also establish a tribunal to resolve a dispute between a state and an international organization. And here we have Peru versus the United Nations. Here they identify Peru as a state, the United Nations as an international organization. But they can also resolve a dispute by creating a tribunal, a dispute between a state and a private party. Here we have Larson versus Hawaiian Kingdom. They identify Lance Larson as a private entity, Hawaiian Kingdom as a state. Can you see how we just got it verified? We didn't seek sovereignty. No, we just exercised it. And what the Permanent Court of Arbitration was supposed to have found, is there any evidence that the Hawaiian Kingdom was extinguished? You need a treaty. No treaty. Instead, all we have is American laws being imposed in violation of not just the laws of occupation, but also the Hawaiian Kingdom Treaty of 1849. And here we have the arbitrators were then established. So the case was initiated November 8, 1999 by a notice of arbitration filed by Ninea Parks, okay, who was the attorney for Lance Larson. After the Permanent Court of Arbitration verified the Hawaiian Kingdom met the requirements of a state, then it formed the tribunal on June 9th, 2000. And here we have Gavin Griffith, Professor Christopher Greenwood, and Professor James Crawford. Greenwood and Crawford later became judges on the International Court of Justice. So it gives you the sense of the caliber of the arbitrators, if anything. And then there's Miss Ninea Parks, the attorney for Lance Larson, and there's me as the lead agent. Okay? And I had a legal team. Now, the proceedings were initiated on November 8, 1999 by filing the notice of arbitration. Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Before the arbitral tribunal was formed on June 9, 2000, the Secretary General of the Permanent Court of Arbitration informed the Council of Regency, meaning I spoke to him on the phone, Secretary General Van den Hout, who's a Dutch national, that it acknowledged the continuity of the Hawaiian Kingdom as an independent state. And the way he worded this is very careful. There's legal jargon here. He said, Mr. Sai, I wasn't a doctor at that time yet. Mr. Sai, the Secretariat could find no evidence that the Hawaiian Kingdom ceases to exist. Notice how he worded that. He didn't say, oh, the Hawaiian Kingdom is not recognized by other countries. He said, there's no evidence that it ceases to exist. He also acknowledged that the 1862 Hawaiian-Dutch Treaty was still in effect because there was no notice of termination. Because Ninea Parks, in the notice of arbitration, drew attention to the Dutch treaty with the Hawaiian Kingdom as still existing, which is where the Permanent Court of Arbitration sits. And the Secretary General also acknowledged the Council of Regency as the Hawaiian Kingdom government under the doctrine of necessity, as we had to explain, right? Not by speaking it, the evidence of it. Now, under Article 49 of the 1907 PCA Convention, that's the treaty that created the court, the Permanent Court of Arbitration's Administrative Council publishes an annual report on the work of the court, the functioning of its administration services, and on its expenditures. Now, members of the Administrative Council are all those countries that signed the treaty and have diplomatic representative in the Netherlands. They sit on this Administrative Council, which includes the United States. In its annual reports from 2000 to 2011, the Administrative Council stated that the Larson versus Hawaiian Kingdom Arbitral Tribunal was established pursuant to Article 47 of the 1907 Treaty. There are currently 122 contracting states to the 1907 Treaty that formed the court that received the annual reports. But the Hawaiian Kingdom is a non-contracting state because our government was overthrown in 1893. And it was only restored in 1997, so it could not sign anything. But there is a provision at the Permanent Court of Arbitration to allow non-contracting states to have access, right? So here we have 122 countries, but in the United Nations, you have 193 of them. That means a lot of them are not contracting states. But they can go to the Permanent Court of Arbitration to resolve a dispute, but that comes under a different provision of the treaty. So here's from the annual report of 2011. The Hawaiian Kingdom is listed as the 33rd arbitration case to have taken place at The Hague. You notice the footnote there, number 2. Footnote 2, pursuant to Article 47 of the 1907 Convention. Well, what is Article 47? The jurisdiction of the Permanent Court may, within the conditions laid down in the regulations, be extended to disputes between non-contracting powers or between contracting powers and non-contracting powers if the parties agree. Powers, another word for state. Non-contracting power, non-contracting state. So, phase 2 initiated. Exposure. And that's going to happen at oral hearings at the Permanent Court of Arbitration in the Netherlands, in the Peace Palace. We're now going to showcase the Hawaiian Kingdom. So the Hawaiian government is going to use this opportunity to expose, use the bully pulpit.
The Dominion of the Hawaiian Kingdom. In summary, from 1840, the Hawaiian Kingdom possessed a constitutional government with elected and appointed officials and a complete system of civil and criminal laws to govern Hawaiian territory. On April 8, 1842, King Kamehameha III and Privy Council commissioned.
Okay, if you folks don't mind, we're going to take a technical break. Yeah, I have 2 videos in this PowerPoint. It's important too. Yeah. Almost there.
Dominion of the Hawaiian Kingdom.
We got him.
The Dominion of the Hawaiian. The Dominion of the Hawaiian Kingdom.
Can you turn it up?
In a summary, from 1840, the Hawaiian
here we
Kingdom
go.
possessed a constitutional government with elected and appointed officials and a complete system of civil and criminal laws to govern Hawaiian territory. On April 8, 1842, King Kamehameha III and Privy Council commissions 3 envoys to secure international recognition of Hawaiian independence. And these individuals are Timoteo Ha'alilio, William Richards, and Sir George Simpson. On December 19, 1842, Hawaiian envoys secured United States President Tyler's recognition of Hawaiian independence. November 28, 1843, the British government and the French government formally enter into a declaration recognizing Hawaiian independence. In our pleadings, we refer to that as the 1843 Anglo-Franco Proclamation. From that point, Hawaii has had its statehood recognized as being independent. As such, it began to enter into these treaties. Austria-Hungary, Denmark, France, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, Japan, Netherlands, Russia, Spain, and the United States of America. International recognition is evidence that the Hawaiian Kingdom had diplomatic representatives as of 1893 from those countries, as far as consulates and embassies. Rather, what we find is that the United States has never expressed itself as an occupier. Who would? They will never admit to occupation. But yet, to admit to occupation is, in a sense, to admit to the continued existence of the Hawaiian Kingdom as an independent state, which is really the crux of the matter, which is actually what is holding up, you might say, this issue to be resolved. Thus, the legal order, thus the reestablishment of the government, thus the relationship between its nationals.
I mean, to be slightly unkind, but thus the issue in rem. The point is that if the Hawaiian Kingdom continues to exist, its existence is in rem. It's not in personam. The Hawaiian existence, the Hawaiian Kingdom doesn't exist solely in the opinion of Mr. Larson.
Right. But that existence should not be dependent upon an occupier, because you basically put the occupier on an equal footing with the Hawaiian Kingdom in its own territory. So really what needs to be addressed is what came before the occupation, whether the statehood or whether the legality or illegality of the Hawaiian Kingdom, not the illegality or legality of the United States as an occupier. Should the tribunal find it has jurisdiction, we are prepared to submit an offer of proof. We felt that this tribunal would offer some clarity so that for the first time we have a third party to present these type of merits that can be scrutinized by international law, rather taking it before a United States tribunal, which could not rule on it to the detriment of itself. So in that sense, there is really no other way to address this issue. And the opportunity did arise because it was Mr. Larson who was adhering to Hawaiian Kingdom law. And if the United States was adhering to occupation, not whether they're illegal or illegal, but if they were adhering to the laws of occupation, we wouldn't be here right now.
So that was the beginning of our exposure, phase 2, at that level. Now, the American Journal of International Law, they provide commentary on international decisions. And this is what they wrote in the American Journal of International Law. At the center of the PCA proceeding was that the Hawaiian Kingdom continues to exist and that the Hawaiian Consular Regency representing the Hawaiian Kingdom is legally responsible under international law for the protection of Hawaiian subjects, including the claimant. In other words, the Hawaiian Kingdom was legally obligated to protect Larson from the United States' unlawful imposition over him of its municipal laws through its political subdivision, the state of Hawaii. That statement right there, that right there is the war crime of usurpation of sovereignty. As a result of this responsibility, Larson submitted that the Hawaiian Consular Regency should be liable for any international law violations that the United States had committed against him. But without the participation of the United States, who put him on trial, who put him in prison, not us, we're just alleged to be liable for that, Larson was unable to maintain his suit against the Consular Regency because, as Professor Lanzarini stated, the indispensable third party rule, meaning Lance Larson needed the United States as an indispensable party in order to hold to account the Consular Regency. But the United States, they were invited to join the arbitration by both parties, but they refused. But here they followed up with a proposal, said, could we have access to all records and pleadings of these proceedings? And you needed our consent, and this agreement was brokered by the Permanent Court of Arbitration, Deputy Secretary General Phyllis Hamilton, where the offer was made, and we accepted. What is the consequence of that? They acknowledge the Hawaiian Kingdom still exists, the Consular Regency is its government, and can you give us permission to have access to the records, which we did. But we also made it accessible to other countries. And one particular country was going to be Rwanda. On Tuesday, which is the day after the last day of the hearing, December 12, 2000, the Consular Regency was called to a meeting by Rwandan Ambassador Dr. Bio Zagara in the cities of Brussels, Belgium. He was at the Permanent Court of Arbitration the previous Friday and was made aware of the Hawaiian Kingdom case because he was attending another hearing across the hall called the International Court of Justice in Congo versus Belgium. And the issue there was an arrest warrant issued by the Belgian authorities on the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Congo for genocide. And Belgium was trying to argue human rights issues was an exception. The point is, a Belgian arrest warrant is no different than a Belgian law. It has no effect beyond its borders. That was the issue there. And while he was there, he came to the attention of the Larson case across the hall the other way. So at this meeting, Rwanda offered the Council of Regency to report to the United Nations General Assembly by placing it on the agenda, the prolonged occupation of the American occupation. What he told me in that meeting, he said, well, it is clear Hawaii is occupied. And my government in Kigali, we see this. It cannot be tolerated. We are prepared to report to the United Nations this situation. Now that prompted myself and my legal team, okay, which were my two cousins, to have a meeting. So I excused myself, we had a meeting, and we were pondering this because here we are at the Permanent Court of Arbitration, about to go from one mountain to another mountain, and our people back home are clueless, completely clueless about Hawaii status. So it was decided that after careful consideration, the Council thanked the ambassador for his government's offer, but it could not accept in good conscience the offer because it needed to address first the devastating effects of denationalization back home. That was what we had to deal with. We didn't have to prove the kingdom exists. No, we already got it verified. We got to let other people to see that too, and that's education. So since returning from the Permanent Court of Arbitration in 2000, the Council of Regency addressed the devastating effects of the war crime of denationalization through academic research at the University of Hawaiʻi, civil and criminal court proceedings, and public presentations, which has led to this presentation here. And the people involved in putting this together have all been reawakened with the national consciousness. As academics, we need to continue this. So we teach it now. Yeah, we teach it. We needed to normalize this information, not politicize it. It's not about the sovereignty movement. Sovereignty movement operates on a false premise that Hawaii is a part of the United States, but everybody has a way of breaking away. I'm not into sedition. Yeah, that's treason. Yeah, that's like a divorce. I want a divorce. My question, or my point would be, go check if you're married. Because you don't get a divorce if you're not married. No, but I'm adopted. Check for the adoption papers. No, you kidnapped. Yeah, Uncle Kamuelo became our uncle with the tall hat. Uncle Sam, Uncle Kambu. And now all the Hawaiians go, he doesn't look like Kamemea. I have to bring laughter in this because this very serious issue has consequences, right? But did you know laughing is a part of healing? Yeah, that's the key. This garnered attention and support of many, to include the National Lawyers Guild, which you heard from Suzanne as its president. It also garnered the attention and support of two non-governmental organizations, a credit to the United Nations, the International Association of Democratic Lawyers, and the American Association of Jurists, which Suzanne shared with you. It also attracted the attention of an independent expert out of Geneva from the United Nations Human Rights Council, Dr. Alfred de Zayas, who sent a letter on February 25th, 2018, to members of the judiciary of the state of Hawaii. He said, as a professor of international law, the former secretary of the UN Human Rights Committee, co-author of the book United Nations Human Rights Committee Case Law, 1977 to 2008, and currently serving as the UN independent expert on the promotion of a democratic and equitable international order, I have come to understand that the lawful political status of the Hawaiian Islands is that of a sovereign nation state in continuity. But a nation state that is under a strange form of occupation by the United States, resulting from an illegal military occupation and a fraudulent annexation. As such, international laws, the Hague and Geneva Conventions, require that governance and legal matters within the occupied territory of the Hawaiian Islands must be administered by the application of the laws of the occupied state, in this case, the Hawaiian Kingdom, and not the domestic laws of the occupier, the United States. I didn't know who... CIA. That's a good one. Sorry, another technical problem. Okay, perfect. Okay. So what you're seeing here is a process of exposure coming from others. I didn't know who Alfred Desires was. When I saw that letter, I went, hey. But see, the thing is about the law of occupation, what is international law, as Professor Chabas and Professor Lensry explained, these are the rules across the board for everybody. So Professor Desires looked at the situation and applied the same laws that we all apply. And that was his statement that he provided. Now, this was followed up by a letter by the from the National Lawyers Guild to Governor Ige on November 10, 2020. It says, Dear Governor Ige, the National Lawyers Guild, the oldest and largest progressive bar association in the United States with 70 chapters and more than 6,000 members, calls upon the state of Hawaii and its county governments as the proxy of the United States, which is in effective control of Hawaiian territory, to immediately comply with international humanitarian law while the United States continues its prolonged and illegal occupation of the Hawaiian Kingdom since 1893. Dr. Federico Lenzerini, a professor of international law from the University of Siena, Italy, authored a legal opinion affirming the lawful authority of the Council of Regency under international humanitarian law and thereby the Royal Commission of Inquiry's investigative authority. The National Lawyers Guild supports the actions taken by the Council of Regency and the Royal Commission of Inquiry in its efforts to ensure compliance with the international laws of occupation by the United States and the state of Hawaii and its counties. As an organization committed to the mission that human rights and the rights of ecosystems are more sacred than property interests, the National Lawyers Guild is deeply concerned that international humanitarian law continues to be flagrantly violated with apparent impunity by the state of Hawaii and its county governments. This has led to the commission of war crimes and human rights violations of a colossal scale throughout the Hawaiian Islands. International criminal law recognizes the civilian inhabitants of the Hawaiian Islands as protected persons who are afforded protection under international humanitarian law, and their rights are vested in international treaties. More importantly, there are no statutes of limitations for war crimes, as you must be aware, meaning you commit a war crime, you can be prosecuted until you're in your upper ages. You're an elderly person, right? So I like to say, imagine somebody in France in 1944, when it's occupied by Nazi Germany, and a Nazi Germany committed a war crime, and this Frenchman says, you're going to be prosecuted for war crimes. He laughs, because he's in control. 1 year later, Nuremberg trials. Statute of limitation doesn't kick in because there is none, right? So this idea of a war crime is very serious. This is not a word you just throw out. It's consequences. So they finished their letter with, we urge you, Governor Ige, to proclaim the transformation of the state of Hawaii and its counties into an occupying government pursuant to the Council of Regions proclamation of June 3rd, 2019, in order to administer the laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom. This would include carrying into effect the Council of Regency's proclamation of October 10, 2014, that bring the laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom in the 19th century up to date, right? This is not about administering the laws of 1893. the Council of Regency had to come up with a proclamation through its legislative authority to say that all laws illegally imposed in Hawaii since 1887 to the present, which includes federal, state, and county laws, will be the provisional laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom, so long as these laws do not run contrary to Hawaiian Kingdom law. One law that runs contrary to Hawaiian Kingdom law that cannot continue, IRS. That's federal taxes. State of Hawaii taxes, consistent. That stays. The following year, the International Association of Democratic Lawyers passed a resolution stating that the IADL fully supports the National Lawyers Guild's letter, November 10, 2020, to State of Hawaii Governor Ige, urging him to proclaim the transformation of the State of Hawaii and its counties into an occupying government pursuant to the Council of Regency's proclamation of June 3, 2019, in order to administer the laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom. This would include carrying into effect the Council of Regency's proclamation of October 10, 2014, that bring the laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom in the 19th century up to date. So what you folks are seeing is you're having international bodies or national bodies of legal people looking at the facts and saying, yeah, it applies. And that's what you've heard from Professor Lanzarini and also Professor Shabas. This is not about trying to convince people of what to believe, right? This is what it is. And that's where the support has come, which is grounded in something. Not because, oh, Dr. Sai said. I'm insignificant here. It's what I'm saying is the key. Oh, sorry. Now, on February 16, 2022, the International Association of Democratic Lawyers and the American Association of Jurists sent a joint letter to all members of the United Nations General Assembly, the ambassadors, in New York City and Geneva, drawing attention to the American occupation. It's that letter. Starts off with, Dear Ambassador, the International Association of Democratic Lawyers and the American Association of Jurists would like to bring to your attention the prolonged and illegal belligerent occupation of the Hawaiian Kingdom by the United States since January 17, 1893. Both the IADL and the AAJ, as non-governmental organizations, have special consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council and are accredited to participate in the Human Rights Council sessions as observers. Well, on March 22nd, 2022, the United Nations Human Rights Council was made aware of war crimes being committed in Hawaii.
Thank you, and I now give the floor to International Association for Democratic Lawyers.
The International Association of Democratic Lawyers and the American Association of Jurists call the attention of the Council to human rights violations in the Hawaiian Islands. My name is Dr. David Kianusai, and I am the Minister of Foreign Affairs ad interim for the Hawaiian Kingdom. I also served as lead agent for the Hawaiian Kingdom at the Permanent Court of Arbitration from 1999 to 2001, where the court acknowledged the continued existence of my country as a sovereign and independent state. The Hawaiian Kingdom was invaded by the United States on 16 January 1893, which began its century-long occupation to serve its military interests. Currently, there are 118 military sites throughout the islands, and the city of Honolulu serves as the headquarters for the Indo-Pacific Combatant Command. For the past century, the United States has and continues to commit the war crime of usurpation of sovereignty under customary international law by imposing its municipal laws over Hawaiian territory, which has denied Hawaiian subjects their right of internal self-determination by prohibiting them to freely access their own laws and administrative policies, which has led to the violations of their human rights, starting with the right to health, education, and to choose their political leadership. Now, according to the International Committee of the Red Cross, its study on customary international humanitarian law, states must investigate war crimes allegedly committed by their nationals or armed forces, or on their territory, and, if appropriate, prosecute the suspects. They must also investigate other war crimes over which they have jurisdiction, and, if appropriate, prosecute. This rule that states must investigate war crimes and prosecute suspects is set forth in numerous military manuals with respect to grave breaches of the Geneva Convention, but also more broadly with respect to war crimes in general. So the Council of Regency is not just the provisional government of the Hawaiian Kingdom as a state, but it has obligations under international law that it can't get away from. And one of those obligations is to protect the nationals of an occupied state, which it's supposed to. And they're supposed to be investigating war crimes. On April 17, 2019, the Council of Regency established the Royal Commission of Inquiry to investigate and publish reports on war crimes and human rights violations occurring in the Hawaiian Islands. The Commission began by publishing preliminary reports on various subjects relative to its mandate and its investigative authority. The first preliminary report that came out was the material elements of war crimes and ascertaining the mens rea. So you can commit a war crime but not be held criminally liable unless you have intent, that you are aware that Hawaii is occupied and that what you're doing is unlawful under international humanitarian law. Once there is evidence of that, then you fulfill the main requisite of those elements of war crimes called you know. That's very difficult because nobody knows. Everybody's ignorant. Well, you can't be prosecuted if you didn't know. But as a result of education, remember phase 2, exposure? See, now people are starting to know. And if you're in a position of power or government, once you know, is what you are doing unlawful under the laws of occupation? This was then followed up by another preliminary report on the authority of the Council of Regency, legal status of land titles in the realm. All titles could not be transferred after 1893. Real simple, for the want of a notary. Notaries after 1893 were insurgents. That's like the syndicate took over and now notarizing documents and recording it in the Bureau of Conveyances. That's a defect in title, meaning title could not transfer after 1893, January 17. You folks may have remembered Perfect Title Company. It exposed all that in the 1990s. And the knee-jerk reaction coming from the title industry, attack. They started blaming us for telling elderly people don't pay their mortgage. What? It's about title insurance. Well, that prompted an invasion of our offices on Richard Street, where myself, my partner Donald Lewis, and our secretary were arrested for racketeering, money laundering, tax evasion, theft. No evidence, just smear. If you can't beat them by refuting them, smear them. But now we have a preliminary report that says the same thing, but in much more detail regarding the legal status of land titles. Because once you know that there's a defect in title, then the proper question should be asked is, how do I fix it? Right? Because you can't lose something you never had. But how do you get something that you never had? Well, it's got to be according to Hawaiian law. And a supplementary report on title insurance, the impact of title insurance that actually protects everybody. Yeah. And explicit recognition of the Hawaiian state and the Council of Regency as its government by the United States, laying out explicitly how that took place. Now, in November of 2022, last year, the Royal Commission of Inquiry published 14 war criminal reports identifying the senior leadership of the United States, State of Hawaii, and the county governments for the war crimes of usurpation of sovereignty during military occupation, deprivation of a fair and regular trial, and pillage. Perpetrators were found guilty of committing the war crimes in their official capacities, which include, now the word guilt doesn't mean they're convicted. To be guilty of something is a person to have committed that particular crime. They're still presumed to be innocent, right? But I just wanted to clarify that use of the term guilt. It included President Joe Biden, Commander of the Indo-Pacific Combatant Command, Admiral John Aquilino, Internal Revenue Service Commissioner Charles Rettig, State of Hawaii Governor David Ige, Director of Taxation Isaac Troy, County of Hawaii Mayor Mitchell Roth, County of Maui Mayor Michael Victorino, and County of Kauai Mayor Derek Kawakami. Now the evidence, this is what is important. It's the evidence that is the key, not the names, it's the evidence. Evidence of the commission of these war crimes were retrieved from the pleadings in a federal lawsuit, Hawaiian Kingdom versus Biden, that lasted from May 20th, 2021 until December 13th, 2022. And that's that Fredo case. And Suzanne was referring to an amicus brief that was filed, which I'll get to, by the National Lawyers Guild and the International Association of Democratic Lawyers. In its filed complaint, the Hawaiian Kingdom sought court orders to compel the United States and the state of Hawaii to begin to comply with international humanitarian law and the law of occupation, because through this exposure, at every level, Human Rights Council, Permanent Court of Arbitration, in classroom, they were still disregarding the law of occupation, meaning the crimes are still being committed. However, in order for the federal court to have jurisdiction or authority over the complaint that was filed, right, the Hawaiian Kingdom requested that the court first transform itself into an Article II occupation court. So this is a type of American court that was established in Germany after when Germany was being occupied, when the Nazi government was overthrown, and they were administering German law and the laws of occupation. We were saying you need to do that here because the way you're operating now, you're operating under the U.S. Constitution. That's called an Article III court. It's first to the U.S. Constitution. On October 6, 2021, an amicus brief, or what is called a friend of the court brief, was filed by the International Association of Democratic Lawyers, the National Lawyers Guild, and the Water Protectors Legal Collective. And that's the amicus. The amicus opened with, the purpose of this brief is to bring to the court's attention customary international law norms and judicial precedent regarding Article II occupation courts that bear on the long-standing belligerent occupation of the Hawaiian Kingdom by the United States at issue in this case. In assessing the legality of the U.S. occupation of Hawaii, the court should be cognizant of customary international law and international human rights treaties that are incorporated into domestic laws by virtue of Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution of the United States, called the Supremacy Clause. The question, they continue here, is not whether the Hawaiian Kingdom has standing in an Article III court, which is in America. The question is whether this court can sit as an Article II occupation court and whether claims of the Hawaiian Kingdom can be redressed. The answer to both questions is yes. And they've done an excellent job in their amicus brief in explaining why this is the case. Well, the court did not transform itself into an Article II occupation court in accordance with international law and consequently committed the war crime of deprivation of a fair and regular trial. So this is where the evidence is going to show you knew. You've been made aware. Neither the court nor the defendants provided any rebuttable evidence to the Hawaiian Kingdom's continued existence under international law and the ensuing military occupation since January 17, 1893. In these proceedings, the defendants were made aware of the war crime of usurpation of sovereignty during military occupation and its unlawfulness under customary international law. In the filings, the court and the defendants admitted, yeah, the Hawaiian Islands were annexed by an American law. And yes, the state of Hawaii was established by an American law. They argued that this was a case of a political question, though, on jurisdictional grounds, which is an American administrative measure limited in operation to U.S. territory. In other words, the court and defendants admitted to the war crime, but their conduct was, what are you going to do about it? We're forcing their hand now. Right? I call this political jujitsu. From an international law standpoint, Professor Shabis and I were talking, it's called lawfare. The court and the defendants were fully aware that they were using American municipal laws and administrative measures in their attempt to have the complaint dismissed, which is the war crime of usurpation of sovereignty. You know, they say, be careful what you say, especially in a court, because it could be used against you. Well, the perpetrators met the elements of the war crimes according to Professor Shabis's legal opinion on the elements that must be fulfilled. In particular, the requisite or the required element of mens rea, criminal intent, awareness. After the war criminal reports were published, the Hawaiian Kingdom withdrew its amended complaint because it wasn't able to get relief from the defendants because they're war criminals now. And the court did not transform itself into an Article II occupation court. And all courts operating in the Hawaiian Kingdom under American law are unlawful and are committing war crimes. Now, to be criminally culpable for committing the war crime, again, you go back to mens rea. Is there evidence that the judge knew? Right? Now, there are 120 countries that are contracting states to the Rome Statute that Professor Chavez referred to, that established the International Criminal Court, which is actually a court of last resort. Okay? They do not have primary responsibility to investigate all war crimes. They're not set up that way. Under the Rome Statute, the contracting states, the 120 countries, have primary responsibility to prosecute war criminals because they have the facility, they have the courts, they have the police power. They can exercise jurisdiction for prosecution under what is called universal jurisdiction, where the war crime was committed abroad and where the perpetrator and the victim are not nationals of the contracting state. But the perpetrator must be in the territory of the contracting state for prosecution. So if a war criminal from, let's say, an Israeli general, there's evidence that he may have committed war crimes by killing civilians, right? If there's evidence there, he could be held accountable by a contracting state, let's say Australia, if it is found that that general is coming through Australian territory. He can be apprehended. That is how you exercise universal jurisdiction, if they come through, okay? Or they can exercise jurisdiction to prosecute under what is called active personality jurisdiction, which is where the perpetrator of the war crime committed abroad is a national of the contracting state and can be extradited for prosecution by the contracting state. Or by passive personality jurisdiction, where the victim of the war crime committed abroad is a national, not the perpetrator, but the victim. The victim of the war crime is a national of the contracting state and can be extradited for prosecution by the contracting state. So let's say a New Zealand national, war crimes were committed in let's say Palestine, just use that as an example. There's evidence of that, but that New Zealand national traveled to Canada, where he's residing, and if Canada has an extradition treaty with New Zealand, they can also extradite that individual because the victim was a New Zealander, not the perpetrator. But they can go after the perpetrator. So these are examples of jurisdiction. Okay? Now every foreigner, okay, here's a twist now. This is what I call the Achilles heel of the state of Hawaii. Every foreigner who visited the Hawaiian Islands have been victimized by the war crime of usurpation of sovereignty during military occupation when they were subjected to taxation by the American fiscal regime. The counties of the state of Hawaii have recently added a 3% surcharge to the state of Hawaii's 10.25%, 10.25% of transient accommodation tax on tourists, meaning specifically targeting tourists. Added with the state of Hawaii general excise tax of 4%, in addition to the 0.5% county general excise tax surcharges, civilians who are visiting the islands will be paying a total of 17.75% to the occupying power. That is being subjected to the war crime, just as we are being subjected to usurpation of sovereignty. Now, their governments can seek arrest warrants and extraditions of the perpetrators under passive personality jurisdiction because the victims are nationals of their country, but the crime was committed abroad. Passive personality jurisdiction, however, can only be exercised if the perpetrator is not prosecuted either by the country where the crime was committed, in this case the Hawaiian Kingdom, or by the perpetrator's home country under active personality jurisdiction, which would be the United States. Because of the unlawfulness of the American occupation, the perpetrators here are not being prosecuted. So it will warrant another country to look into this situation. I'm not giving an illegal analysis of it, but I can assure you some officials of other countries are looking into this because their nationals have been subjected to the war crime of usurpation of sovereignty. Under New Zealand law, as an example, an application for an arrest warrant can be sought by the victim of the war crime in a court of law without intervention by the Attorney General of New Zealand, which is called private prosecution. They actually have those provisions. Very different from Hawaii or the United States. However, public prosecution of the perpetrator in a court of law is done by the Attorney General, whether under universal jurisdiction, active personality jurisdiction, or passive personality jurisdiction, which is what I referred to earlier. New Zealand is a contracting state to the Rome Statute. New Zealand, as a freestanding constitutional monarchy, is also a party to the 1851 Hawaiian-British Treaty. So can you folks see the impact that international law has on our situation in many different ways? But it's a network, and once Hawaii is in that network that it's supposed to be, doors start to open in places that were never open before. So my concluding remarks. Thank you for enduring the technical difficulties, but I had to get through this. The mandate of the Royal Commission of Inquiry is twofold. First, to provide evidence for the prosecution of perpetrators of war crimes committed in the Hawaiian Kingdom. War crimes cannot be committed with impunity. That is a rule. Not because you're uncomfortable with it, right? But if you committed the war crime, you have to be prosecuted. Second, to use its war criminal reports as a deterrent in order to compel officials of the United States, state of Hawaii, and the counties to comply with international humanitarian law and the law of occupation, or face the same consequences. Remember phase 2? Heat the rock. Heat, heat, heat. Finally, there are no statute of limitations for war crimes. And if there is evidence that war crimes have been committed in the Hawaiian Islands, with awareness that their acts are unlawful, the perpetrators will be prosecuted, whether here or abroad, whether now or in the future. And that's the impact of international law regarding Hawaii, but also the role and the mandate of the Royal Commission of Inquiry, which is to protect the population. That is our function. We have to do that. It is an obligation. With that, mahalo.
Okay, we're going to start the questions panel part of our symposium in just a moment. I just want to call back to the front seated areas, Professor William Chabas, Professor Federico Lenzarini, and Dr. Keanu Sai, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the front, please. The way we're going to work this is Hono is going to be roaming around with the mic, and if you put your hand up, either she will catch you or I will catch you, and you can ask your question openly to any one of the presenters or all of the presenters, and we'll just roll from there. And if I miscue anybody or miss anybody, I apologize in advance, and we'll try to get to everybody as we can. So anybody with a starting question for any of our presenters? As I say in my classes, right over here, this gentleman over here. As I say in my classes, there's no questions too big or small, because probably everybody has those questions in their mind. Or you don't know them yet.
Aloha mai kako. Peace, peace. Thank you so much for everything. My name is Cody Listel. I have a very specific question relevant to the state of Hawaii's attempt to enforce domestic U.S. law around the regulation of midwifery here in the Hawaiian Kingdom. Several years ago, when they first started passing the legislation that finally went through, I testified against the whole legislature and wrote them specific memos modeled after the Desaias memo, explaining what you have been sharing for years, that they shouldn't even be passing U.S. domestic law. That in itself constituted a war crime, so I put them on notice. And then I said, and in particular, this specific act would be taking measures to limit birth within a population, which is specifically the crime of genocide. So please do not do this. They did it anyways. I broke decorum and started yelling at them in the courthouse and got chased out. I would just want to know, like, what actions can people who are currently being criminalized under the state of Hawaii for giving birth at home and assisting people in birthing here, like the midwives who delivered my children could be jailed at this point by the occupation forces if they were to continue to practice. So what kind of recourse do we have in that scenario under the current actions that are happening to protect Hawaiian subjects and international subjects and visitors in the Hawaiian Kingdom? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cody, for that. So we're dealing with a monolith. This is not about particulars. The source of the secondary war crimes is usurpation of sovereignty, the imposition of American law that has led here. Now, the perpetrators in 1900, Sanford Dole, he was a criminal, right? Clear. But once denationalization took place, everyone was brainwashed into believing another narrative where our own people serve in government with the belief that this is the American 50th state. Really is an outcome of denationalization. So that needs to be taken into consideration as well, because the issue here is our job is not to get people prosecuted. Our job is to hold people accountable, to protect the population. So the Royal Commission of Inquiry is addressing that larger issue of the imposition of American law, which has led to everything that's illegal, right? So Lance Larson, in 1999, was a victim of usurpation of sovereignty, but everybody here is a Lance Larson. Everybody, right? So then it gets into, how do you fix this problem without creating chaos? Well, my take on this is, I use this analogy. You have the 38th parallel that separates North Korea and South Korea. And let's say you're an American soldier that accidentally crosses the 38th parallel. The first thing you do is you don't stand up and scream, "I'm an American." Blend in. Be quiet. It's called survival mode until troops can get you, right? So in this situation, just play the game, knowing changes are coming. That's the key. In fact, I told Lance Larson when we got back from the Netherlands, go get a driver's license. You already made the point. The Hawaiian Kingdom. Your attorney gave you very good advice that got us to this point, but this is not about you fighting. And then you know what he tells me? I can't get the license until I pay all the fines that they imposed on me. I was, okay, well, that's a good point then. But blend in. Be confident that things are taking place, and that's what this symposium is about, is to share what has been happening and where it's going. And what you folks, I hope, can see through our presentations, that there are many people involved in fixing the problem, but it's a process, and it begins with education. So Cody, I would recommend at this stage, just play the game but keep making the point. Always occupied, but don't put yourself in harm's way. Don't cause attention to yourself or your family. I believe in that, right? So it's a very delicate situation and very complex. Yeah.
Mahalo nui for this symposium And I just want to share, along that lines and just hearing your advice right now. So the other day we had a Ewa Beach Neighborhood Community Board meeting. And there were Lahui there, lineal descendants, and they were, just basically restating what everything has been said here, just putting them on notice, of where we are at and that we are under, illegal occupation. And what transpired is that when several of the, the board members just kind of looked and just, kind of shook their head. And after that comment was made, and it was directed toward one of the representatives for the military, one of the board members actually said, "That's ridiculous," the board member. And so when we went out, we came back in, and we were going to say something, and somebody, Kanakamala in the board, stood up and just stated that, that really where the Lahui who made the testimony, the community member, was coming from. And in the process of explaining, why it was said, the board member that made, that really have a comment, that she stood up and resigned. She didn't even want to hear the explanation. She just, she didn't want to recognize it and just resigned. So I just saw that as the Heva Hulin itself, and just, but as you mentioned just right now, what can we do in the real life, daily living? What can we do? Do we just keep restating it? But you just said, do not bring attention to yourself. But other than that, it's just going to continue on. But I just wanted to share that the truth, and the actual situation does need to be brought up as to educate. And it just takes, a lot of courage and consistency. Do you have any advice for daily living on the different levels?
Okay, I always believe in, if you're going to try to do something, make sure that you can control what you're doing. Not that you're worried about something so far away that you have no connection to it, right? So for me, I really can only control what I can touch or what I can influence. Now, the key issue here is recovering this memory of a country. We're all going through that, recovering memory, right? Through research, sharing. Okay? The most important element that I've seen as I've traveled across the islands, across the world, and sharing this information is my job is to normalize the conversation, not radicalize the conversation. Normalize it. So here at the university, when we teach classes and we speak to war crimes, people aren't shocked. The students go, well, that makes sense. And then what I encourage my students to do, when you go home, talk to your parents. Talk to your friends. Just say, hey, you ever heard about this? I mean, there's so many ways of unconventional education as opposed to conventional education. And to me, unconventional education is so important in a time when we are beginning to recover our memory, but also we're getting scared. We're getting scared of the unknown. Why are you getting scared of the unknown? Because you don't know. What that means is, well, now know, now you're not scared. So the idea is to be comfortable in the presentation. I'm not here to advocate collision, attack, right? I mean, if we have to do lawfare, we're not attacking, we're using a system, following the certain rules, and getting certain outcomes. But when I speak to someone, I gotta be respectful. I have to assume they don't know, right? And what makes them different from me when I didn't know? But now I know. Let me help Auntie know. And let me speak in a way Auntie can understand. I mean, I've spoken to arbitrators at this level and brother from Nalo and everybody in between. And what you do is you always switch. So I believe, my personal opinion, I'm the mo'o, right? That's me, but I can change color. Mo'o is lizard. I'm a chameleon. So if I'm in Rome, talk Roman, but I'm still the Hawaiian mo'o. If I'm in Waimanalo, I talk Nalo. Bruh, what you talking about? That is something that I've mastered as a means of communicating a very complicated history, right? So I would recommend just normalize things. Share it, right? Kill them with aloha, yeah? That literally doesn't mean kill them. I'm saying kill the paradigm with aloha. So a lot of this is psychological, but what you folks have witnessed here, the legalities, the strategy, it's already happening. That's what you folks are realizing as I hope. So having Suzanne, Federico, Bill come here is to share with all of you, we know. And we too are normalizing it. So as Suzanne shared with the National Lawyers Guild, they always get that reaction, huh? Eh? Oh, that makes sense. They go through that evolution. So it's not just us, not just us.
Okay, we'll go put it down.
Yes, if I may, can you hear me? I would like to add something. Remember 6 years ago when we had that meeting at the Kamehameha School, somebody from the audience exactly asked the same question. What should we do in our daily life in order to promote the situation of the Hawaiian Kingdom? And since this question was asked to myself, my response was that you should never stop believing that the situation can change. I mean, it may appear that you are in front of a big mountain, and this is the truth. But at the same time, nothing is impossible. And I would like to say that in these 6 years, from the meeting at the Kamehameha School to present days, many things have happened. Many developments have occurred. Just to give you an example of something which may appear as a failure, but in reality was a success, in my opinion, our experience with the International Olympic Committee. A couple of years ago, I was entrusted to bring the situation of the Hawaiian Kingdom in front of the International Olympic Committee, just to obtain the membership of the Committee for the Hawaiian Kingdom for the sport of surf, that you know much better than me, that was born in these islands, no? And in order to allow the Hawaiian Kingdom, the Hawaiian team to participate in the Olympic Games in Japan. And we were not able, we were not able to obtain this membership. But you know, the Charter of the International Olympic Committee states that only independent states can be allowed to become members of the committee. And what happened was that the committee never rejected our request, never denied the condition of independent state of the Hawaiian Kingdom. They simply postponed the decision. They postponed and postponed each time that I got in touch with them. They didn't tell me, they didn't reply, the Hawaiian Kingdom is not a state, so you're not entitled to submit this request. No, they simply told me, oh, now that the officials of the committee are busy in something else, so call me again in a few months. And then, yes, now they're busy in the Winter Games, so they cannot take care of this issue, but call me again. And this situation has continued for years, but they have never denied the status of the Hawaiian Kingdom as an independent state. And in my modest opinion, this is already a success. So we should never stop believing that things may change.
Aloha. First, I'd like to thank you for having this and inviting us, and thank you for the knowledge. I am Nui Loa Kane. I come from Waihole Valley, and we and my children, I have 8 children, and we clean and protect our waters of Waihole every day. One problem we have is I just got served the eviction notice off our kuleana, and war crimes are being committed. And my question to you is, if you're the Hawaiian Kingdom, I can see phase 1, phase 2, Phase 3. Today I'm asking, if I'm a subject of the kingdom and the state of Hawaii attacks us today, is your obligation legally to represent us?
Well, we're not obligated to represent you, but we are obligated to protect you, right? So we're supposed to protect all subjects of the Hawaiian Kingdom. The difficulty with that is many people don't even know they're Hawaiian subjects because they've been led to believe they're Americans, right? So this is not about, as I stated earlier, the Council of Regency in looking at this situation could only operate with limited resources and manpower. And the only thing that we had was the truth and the facts and the authority. We had to make use of lawfare to achieve our objectives, procedurally, administratively, or even in proceedings. This is not about taking up cases, because every case is illegal. Everything, right? So we have to keep that in mind, but we have to also keep in mind that individuals who are in the state of Hawaii government and the county government are all many family and friends who believe something that is not true. This is not about putting a sledgehammer onto our own people because they're in a position that they don't even know what they're doing. But it gets to a point that they will be held accountable once they know. That's important. So everything that we have today, the governmental infrastructure of the state of Hawaii is actually the Hawaiian Kingdom infrastructure. It is. We have to transition. So let's take a look at what happened in 1893. All they did was change the Queen and her cabinet and told everybody else to sign oaths of allegiance. Did you know you return back to the Hawaiian Kingdom by removing the governor and the cabinet, replacing it with the Council of Regency, and the occupation comes to an end. And everybody signs oaths of allegiance to the Hawaiian Kingdom government. It's just an exact reversal, right? But it's important that people in government become aware of the situation and the responsibilities and the liabilities of being an occupier, right? And war crimes being committed is an outcome, it's a consequence, whether through arrogance, whether through ignorance. They're still committing war crimes. But I'm not one to point fingers at my cousin who might be a police officer. My job is to say, my cousin, be a better police officer and prepare for a transition, because all the laws that you're following now have already been recognized as the provisional laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom. Continue to enforce the law knowing it's an occupied state, and not enforce laws that are inconsistent with Hawaiian Kingdom law. But we need that working relationship with the state of Hawaii officials and the county officials to prepare officials to understand what laws are provisional and what laws run contrary to Hawaiian Kingdom law. And I'm currently working on a formula that will make that determination on which laws of the state of Hawaii, federal law or county law, are consistent with Hawaiian Kingdom law. See, these mechanisms have to take place and not trying to address one situation at a time. This is not a micro issue, it's a macro issue. It's complicated, but I hope that you folks can see that there is competency in addressing this complicated issue. That's what's important. So we have a responsibility and an obligation, which is important. And we still have to do what we have to do, even though our people don't even know anything. No. And then we get attacked by them, right? But this is our job. Okay, so when we began to expose the occupation of Hawaii, back in the 90s, as I shared, that's when we get attacked, get arrested for racketeering, money laundering, tax evasion. To me, the attacks reflected an existential threat to them, which only proved my point. Because if this was frivolous, the titles are defective, why you attack so hard? Just ignore it. It's frivolous. The fact that they did that proved my point. Okay, what do I do now? Stay alive. How do I protect my family? right? What about threats to my life? All these things all come into play, but I can say as a former officer in the Army, that's recognized as a variable in the equation. Our job was to get rounds over the mountain, meaning I'm expendable. In our situation, you have to have that mindset. This is not normal. You got to be trained for this, right? So this, where we are now, is an opportunity to explain and share this was always the plan. And you start to see what took place. And now you can see what's about to take place. But our job is to prepare for a transition with our own people in positions of government, which was from the Kingdom era and continues to be today. So this is really just changing a mindset. That's what it is. You folks ever saw the movie The Matrix? Matrix? Young ones would know that. The only time you see the Matrix is if you get unplugged. If you're plugged, you don't see the Matrix, right? You don't see the Matrix. So just keep believing in yourself, normalize the information, talk to your friend, talk to your family, your children. Look at the classes that they're taking, because students are now taking classes on Hawaii's occupation. Encourage that. That's really the first step.
Okay, I'm sorry guys, I know there's a lot more questions out there, but we're gonna have to end the Q&A session at this time and get ready to set up the mics and everything for the mele Aloha ʻāina. Hopefully you get a chance to approach some of these guys, not large public Q&A, and talk story. But mahalo to our presenters.
Okay, so if I can make one more point. Everyone here should have gotten a book, The Royal Commission of Inquiry. Go read it. That is the battle plan. That is how things are taking place. Read it, share it, speak to people about it. That's the key. So make use of that complimentary book that you folks got.
Okay, we're just going to do a short break while we set up all of the equipment for our mele Aloha ʻāina presenters. Sorry, sis, let me get all my stuff out of here.
Oh, no, you're good. Are these wireless mics for my MCs?
Possibly.
These three?
I imagine they should be. When load over there.
Somewhere.
Somewhere. He comes back over. He's the main sound guy over here.
Just 1, 2, check 1, 2. Mic number 2. Are you? You're the captain? We're just the janitors.
Oh, yeah. That's what I call myself.
Yeah, we're just the janitors.
Clean up in aisle 7.
I don't know, Seven. Attention shoppers.
Okay, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? I'm going to get a sandwich.
Yeah, go eat, guys. It's been a long day.
I'm all for being here.
He's running his race.
Check 1 2. Check test 1 2. Mahalo.
MC check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Skinny mic check 1 2.
It works. Not me. Test 1 2. Mic check 1 2. MC number 2. Mic check 1 2. No. you know I don't need him, no.
Sis, is this your phone or no?
Yeah. Of course, there's all these.
I wanted to get lost in the blackness back there.
Oh, this is your one. So I gotta change the case to black. I need a red one so I can see it.
Mine is like that too. Mine would get lost too. That's why I was all the way back here.
Yeah, no. Pearl.
Will there be a slide presentation in this portion?
This is yours, yeah?
Oh, yes. Hi, my brother. How are you doing? I have my cord if you need.
Hi again. I'm sorry to get you.
Thank you very much for the
Wait, what face is it on my working?
It's supposed to be the Hawaiian Society one.
I know. I don't want her to be nervous. We can put it down back here. I know.
She's so cute.
I know. She's being very serious about it.
Babe. Say hello to your family.
All three of us have mics, brother. So we don't need this one. We don't need this one.
Let's take a picture. Somebody's camera is on the ground.
Let's take a picture next time. Since you're here.
Mic check 2. 2. Check 2. Check 1. Check 2.
Water.
No. Thank you. Hey, you brother. I'm trying to get your auntie for come down, but she's telling me she's not dressed. Just take them slow, not.
We're just following you. You go where you go. Right behind you.
not be so marchy, but just kind of absorbed. Yeah.
All the vocals, just one of the vocals. 2 1 2 1 2 2 2 hey 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 1 2 1 2 1 2 yeah.
First verse twice. Okay, so you chorus. Second verse twice. Chorus.
2
twice.
1 2 2
Following.
Bring them down a little bit, maybe.
we'll do the ukulele real fast.
Wait till we bring them up to you.
Lola, which one is that?
The one on the left-hand side.
The fallen.
We're playing in D, next step in, play with us. Pwede, kanayaw po niya. Kanayaw po niya. Kanayaw po niya. She's telling him to stay. She said, she's telling him to stay. Got you out of there.
I know you're doing one of these.
We're ready to start. Everybody's coming.
Attention shoppers, attention shoppers. We're going to begin our aha mele in about a minute and a half. So please hurry, make your shishi and helemai.
Sorry for the long wait.
It's a wrestling too.
This presentation was supposed to be half an hour. But that's it. We don't cut them off, right? Yeah, like it was kind of running on time. It was like,
People want to do the Q&A. I've seen that. I don't know.
Well, that's the other thing, because it was only supposed to be half an hour, then supposed to have Q&A, but because it runs so long, so they would cut the Q&A. Otherwise, you guys would be waiting another hour. Is there plenty of questions?
I'm sure.
It's really interesting what the other two professors had shared earlier today. It's amazing. I mean, it's stuff that we've known all this kind of stuff already, like learning some new stuff, but then to hear it from allies, from outside of our country, like, oh wow. Stand them down.
You ready?
Okay. You guys ready? Let's do it, guys.
You guys need ladies and gentlemen, as the Vice King.
Aloha. Oh, mahalo, everyone. Everybody, did you guys learn a lot today? Mele, did you learn a lot today?
Brah, I feel like I went walking encyclopedia.
Are you?
I feel like I'm pouring Google right now. I went absorb so much.
That's why we were sitting in the back. We had to translate for us guys in the back. We had our own translator back there, just so you know. How about you, Lena Girl? Everybody, make it up. Give it up for Lena Girl over here.
Aloha, family.
Mele Apana is over there.
And our brother Davey D hanging out with us today.
KITV's very own weatherman. Yes, the Kamakani was blowing today. You was on point today, brother.
Couple days.
Like a bush, yeah.
Yeah,
Kamakani
I mean, you know,
action.
I get the high pressure system, and we got the inversion and all of that stuff. But I like how you do the weather. It's much better.
Yeah, today's Kamakani is going to be LBW, a little bit windy, so the thing will be blowing for days. So those of you who's wearing a toupee, you better super glue her because your hair is going to be bushwhacker my name. Lava! That's how I do the weather report. You guys understood that though, right?
That's the crazy thing is that we do.
I totally.
Look at Dr. Shabis and Dr. Lenzerini. They're like, huh?
What?
What? That's how he was when you guys was talking, huh?
What?
So smart. That's how you guys so smart.
It's like, David, do you understand the word that is coming out of his mouth?
I was trying to, sister. Trust me. I had to go look up. I had what is that? Merriam-Webster dictionary looking up some of those words. Vicissitudes and all those things. I was like, wow.
Merriam-Webster's.
Anyway, but I want to thank you guys for heeding the call and being here with us today. Can we give it up for Dr. Shabis and Dr. Lenzerino?
Stand up, professors! Stand up! Yes! Make some noise for our professors, everybody!
For, just for heeding the call and locking arms with us Hawaiians, and of course, Dr. David Keanu Sai.
Hey! Stand up, Dr. Keanu! Oh, we should have put you in Malo for that one, babe.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I tell you.
The people right behind you would have got a special showing over there. But hey, thank you again for being on KITV this week and sharing about this symposium. And we just are so grateful. I like what you posted up on that one slide about, that lunatic and how you had mentioned, like, back in the 90s or the 80s, the people thought you were a lunatic because of the things you were saying. And today you're saying the same exact thing, but now you get the PhD behind your name. So we want to thank you personally for fighting that fight and being our voice and educating us.
Yes. And getting those alphabets behind your name.
Yeah.
Made a big difference.
Even though you're no more hair now. Oh. Yeah, right.
Lena Girl, Davey D, we build you up. Mele, she put you right back where you belong.
Hey, he said, he look at the picture. 1994, he said he had hair.
Well, it's starting already. The trend was starting. We saw him. We kind of saw him.
That's what you get for bringing us along with you. But we love you so much. And
Yes, we
thank
do.
you for being a champion for our people and all the professors. And for those of you that are here today, each and every one of you is very important. And like we always say, you cannot do what I do, and I cannot do what you do, but we do together. And when we all resonate the spirit of mana and aloha, we can help heal our people. And even though when we see the stories, you read the book, we see all the documentaries on the hurt and the pain and the suffering our people has endured for centuries. We feel it. I mean, sitting there in the audience, you guys can feel it. The na'au is very, very eha. But from all of that comes triumphant.
That's right.
Yeah.
The celebration that we're actually gonna, the EK that you guys shared today, that we still here. The Hawaiian Kingdom is still here.
Still here.
And we are just excited for the future. And you showed us some action steps today. So now it's time for us to celebrate.
Let's celebrate with a beautiful aha mele. We're going to celebrate with music, the music of our people. And it begins first. We're going to take you back a little ways. The Hawaiian Kingdom was united and built by Kamehameha Ikahi. This song honors this man by recalling his final words to his people. Ina iwale no oko upono a ole pau. Come all of you, stand together. My deeds are not yet complete.
Published nearly a year prior to the purported annexation of Hawaii to the U.S., this song first appears in Kana'ia Puni newspaper on August 21st, 1897, crediting the composition to Samuel Kamaka'aia, a member of the Hawaiian band since 1869. Contemporary Records credits this composition to William Kahino in 1906, with one variation in the line. Ladies and gentlemen,
please welcome Nahoku Hano Hano Award winner. She's a queen to us because she can sing. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kuhuipo Kumukahi.
You know the words, sing with me.
In one thought. Together in one heart. And most important, in one aloha.
Hana Award star, Director of Culture at the Hyatt Hotel Waikiki, entertainer extraordinaire, Kui Pukumokai, everybody. Also, put your hands together. Stand up, make some noise for Auntie Ipo. That's how we get this party started. Also on bass, Glenn Maeda, our house band, Sean Pimentel on guitar. That's how we get started. Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Chicken skin, yeah? Auntie Ipo Kumokai, of course, she's a director, culture director at the Hyatt. And maybe right before we walked in, I was asking Auntie what's the latest scoops in Waikiki. She said, you know, I want to tell more stories of our ʻāina, of our people, and tell the history, the rich history of Oahu, Honolulu, Waikiki. And so Auntie is working hard to bring in more culture directors, more storytellers to Waikiki, so the people that come from around the world can hear the true stories of our people in Hawaii. So, again, round of applause for Auntie Pukumukahi, everybody. She was singing so long, she was also the house band for King Kalakaua.
Oh, you stop.
Ooh.
Kawi.
Ooh, even further back. Okay.
I love you. I love you.
Ika wā kahiko.
We're going back. Speaking of going back, yes, we're going back. This next song is about Timoteo Ha'alilio. Sacrificed his life for the good of his king, his people, and his country by accepting and succeeding on his mission to secure recognition of Hawaii's independence in 1843. His life represents a true example of a Hawaiian patriot. This mele was written by the composer, Keawe Goodhue, after reading a letter that Timoteo wrote to his mother, Eseka Kipa. The exchange of letters presents a personal, more intimate side to the serious and sometimes dangerous diplomatic mission of Ha'alilio and the sacrifices he made to accomplish this seemingly impossible feat. While the king, chiefs, and people anxiously anticipated this hero's return, it sadly culminated with his untimely death while aboard a ship headed for home.
And here with us to sing Hi'ikama is this tall, handsome Hawaiian in the middle over there. His name is Heua Olusai Duduwab. Yes, please make some noise for him. Beautiful voice. He is a graduate of Nava Hio Kolonio Pu'u Hawaiian Charter School in Kea'au, currently attending the University of Hawaiʻi at Mānoa right here on this campus. And he's going after his Hawaiian language and business degree. All right, Hawaiian. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, give it up for Heua.
Aloha,
beautiful, brother.
Oh, hey, oh, everybody! This
That was
is a
so
beautiful
beautiful.
song. He come on. Oh,
You know,
chicken skin.
that, that goes back to what Keanu was saying earlier about the denationalization. And now, thinking about what the sacrifice that Timoteo made to go to Europe to get the recognition for our Hawaiian Kingdom. When Laku Oko'a happens this year, for that beautiful song. Mahalo.
Our musical journey continues with this next composition. Lili Uokolani writes, in the early years of the reign of Kamehameha V, he brought to my notice the fact that the Hawaiian people had no national air. Each nation, he said, but ours had its statement of patriotism and love of country in its own music. But we were using, for that purpose, the time-honored British anthem, God Save the Queen. This he desired me to supplant by one of my own compositions. In 1 week's time, I notified the king that I had completed my task. He admired not only the beautiful of the music, but spoke enthusiastically of the appropriate words, so well adapted to the air and to the purpose for which they were written.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're so blessed this day. We have so many superstars of music that champion the stories of our people. As you saw earlier, Kuipukumukahi, who was also a Nahoku Hanhana Award star, and this lovely lady up on stage right now is also another Nahoku Hanhana Award Female Vocalist of the Year. And so many accolades to add to that. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mailani Makainai.
Mahalo. Please, let's stand for our first national anthem. Kamakua manaloa mali umahi amako e hali uakune me kana auha e mo kamaluhia Onea pai ʻāina mai Hawaii iani I hau malalo ko malu e mo ke e o ka ʻāina ma ko pono mau a ma ko mana E ola ka mo'i, e mau ka maluhia, Onea pai ʻāina, mai Hawaii iani I hau, malalo ko malu, e mau ke e o ka ʻāina. Ma ko pono mau, a ma ko mana nui. E ola ka mo'i, e ola ka mo'i, e ola ka mo'i mu. Mahalo.
Hemele Lahui, Hawaii. Very big mahalo to Mailani Makainai.
Mailani Makainai, everybody.
Also a proud graduate of the University of Hawaiʻi at Mānoa. In Hawaiian language and Hawaiian studies. Mahalo nui, sister. That was chicken skin. We know you can play music. We know you can play your kika, but you came up here and you gave your leo, and my goodness.
Yeah. And congratulations to her. This year they're celebrating, 20 years of Ke'ahi Vai?
Wow.
20 years, yeah? Wow.
Man, the first music video on Overdrive Live, one of the very first on Overdrive Live, which the wahine sitting next to you sang the jingle.
Yep. Overdrive Live.
In fact, we get to introduce her.
OC16. Oh my. And by the way,
Why are we singing?
Can we let the cat out of the bag a little bit?
Go.
How many of you remember Overdrive Live on OC16 back in the day? Yeah. Okay, Amy sang our jingle. How many of you remember Local Kind Grinds with Brother Sam and Lena Girl Make Some Noise? Yeah. Those were the #1 TV shows over 20 years ago, and the secret to those shows, it was a spirit of aloha. Whether it was music or food or ohana, it just rang in everybody's na'au, and that's what is missing nowadays, right? With all the pandemic we went through and the sadness and whatever, we just needed that happiness. So guess what? These are my best friends, Lena and Davey. We're bringing back Overdrive Live and on Local Kind Grinds. Are you guys ready for that? Make some noise.
Yeah.
I just like eat, that's why.
Eat and sing. Eat and sing. That's all we like to do. This next mele we would like to present to you is presented by a lovely lady who's a big part of our Overdrive Live legacy. Yes?
Yes.
This particular song, though, composed by Liliuokalani on June 20th, 1887 at the Alexandra Hotel in London. Princess Liliuokalani and Queen Kapi'olani were en route to the Golden Jubilee celebration of Queen Victoria in honor of the 50th year of her reign as Queen of England and Empress of India, held in London. And at this time, we'd like to introduce a beautiful, lovely lady to sing this mele.
She is our current president of HARA, so she's our boss. Yeah, Amy. We're going to do whatever you like. Do you need water? I can go get you water. What's the temperature of the water? Want to make sure we get it correct. Ladies and gentlemen, she's a female vocalist of the year. We're so stoked to have her here. Please give it up for Amy Hanaiali'i Gilio.
Aloha, everyone. I'm very honored to sing this song. I just came from London not too long ago. I was with my cousin Kumomaika Kamohoali'i, first native Hawaiian to be invited to Fashion Week. Yeah, it was beautiful, but I was also there at the passing of the Queen and got to see her procession. So we all stood. It was super emotional, you know, just to be in the presence at this present time for their ali'i to pass. Anyway. Mahalo piha moyo henelani kui ko kaulana aina po na kai akau na onehema ike akoi mananui e ia mako iko kapakai iko lanui jubilee imai ko mako aloha maluna oka malu okalani hauole ole me pela o inia e ia makahiki jubilia kokonali apuni ke ao holo o koa e hilani e mililani ua hui pui a me Hawaii e uhi mai kalani konanani e ola kamoi ke akua e ola kamoi ke akua
Li'i kamanene. Chicken skin, chicken skin.
Wow.
How many of you guys have read the book Kahua Kaia Kapi'olani? How many of you guys have read that book? Okay, so that's the second book we got to read. We got to read Keanu's book and Kahua Kaia Kapi'olani. And it speaks of the Queen's journey and Princess Liliuokalani and their whole entourage to Europe. Exactly what this song talks about. And the Queen Kapi'olani was received in the United States by the President, the First Lady, and over in Europe by the Queen and everybody with regality and just like respect, which goes to prove, as Keanu has been speaking on today, we were recognized. We are a world leader, or a world power at that time, a nation unto ourselves. So thank you, Amy, for sharing that. And again, that's the second book everybody got to read, Kahua Kaia Kapi'olani.
Thank you, sister, for that one. And and as you were singing, and we were thinking about our li'i and our stories and our rich history of our own people. And when I looked up into the audience, I saw someone that is another great mentor of ours. We have been in the entertainment industry and radio industry for our entire lives. And when I looked into the audience and Amy was singing, I remember this prolific composer, entertainer, another Nahokuhan Honored Star. She's also a president of the Hokus, and the list goes on, and walking encyclopedia. And I remember when she portrayed Queen Liliuokalani at the Kamehameha School Song Contest, and she's also another great champion of the people of Hawaii. And I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge her in the audience today. Please, ladies and gentlemen, I would like her to stand. Auntie Marlene Tsai. Love you, Auntie. Love you so much. She portrayed Queen Liliuokalani at Iolani Palace. Song contest. Legend. She's a legend, everybody. I knew her since I was small. Actually, I'm still small. Just your eyes are big. We're gonna preserve you on ice, Auntie. I love you. Marlene Tsai.
Can we get a tally of how many people mele in the rip today? So far, we know Keanu.
But they know I kolohe, right, Auntie? Love you, Auntie.
Here, you ready? All right, we're going to hanaho with our brother right here. This particular song was written by Emalia Kaihumua. She penned the mele moku o Keawe on board the Australia, headed to San Francisco, where she expressed her longing for home in this foreign land. Considering the appearance of this mele in Kaleo o Kalahui, a self-declared nationalist paper that emphatically backed the continuity of the Hawaiian Kingdom and Liliuokalani, patriotism is the garland I wear, leans toward a meaning that obliges the context of moku o Keawe in a time of strife following the overthrow. This happens in a brief window between experiencing the overthrow of her queen and her nation while fulfilling her role as a representative of the self-declared republic. This is music written by Emalia Kaihumua. This is He Aloha Moku o Keawe. He ua ulu.
ʻāina ka mahao I ka uike Ua ui papu ia E ka Ike I ka hau ho'okua ke ʻāini Ho'opune hana ike Ahi ka puahi Kumai ke aloha no ka ʻāina No ka pai ua Ka ohipu Ka ina ia mai ana ka puana Ke aloha ʻāina Haina ia mai ana ka puana Ke aloha ʻāina
Hey, everybody. Wow, wow, what a story. Lena and I was just talking, we heard this song so many times. We played it on radio so many times, but we got to read where the story come from. And we were in the back listening to what was saying, and it literally made us tear up. You know, it's not just this, we just thought it was a song of Hawaii Island, but it's such a really, really deep song, and the meaning and behind all of that, very, very touching to the heart. Yeah, Lena, oh, there goes our mascara, yeah, Teda.
Oh my gosh, I'm on bus up. I really thought that song was just about, I didn't understand the context of how it was written. And I think that's why this aha mele is so important, because not only are we hearing these beautiful songs that a lot of us already know, I'm seeing you folks are mouthing the words. And these are songs that we might have heard in a backyard paʻina or at another Hawaiian language concert, but we don't really understand the context in which these songs were written. And it's just kind of hitting me now. So thank you very much to Kau. Kau, are you laughing? Don't laugh at me. Look at my mascara.
She's crying too.
She don't want. This is your fault.
There's cameras.
It's your fault.
Kau Isai Durua, thank you so much for putting that together for us.
Yeah,
Thank you so
the script that we're reading, we're actually making Lena girl read them because she's the smart one of us three.
And she can see, I'm the blind one.
And
some of the words kind of big for them.
Yeah, big words. We don't know what we're talking about. But Kau Isai Durua, please give her a nice round of applause.
Stand up, Kaui. Stand up, Kaui.
She is the one that wrote all this stuff for us and did all the research and has been doing research for years. When we used to see her back in the day at the KCCN studios back, you know, that's when Keanu had hair back then. Yeah, Keanu, remember? You remember? I remember.
He said
No, because I remember seeing Keanu over there. And of course, we got to say aloha once again to Glenn. Going to take a break. How's it, Glenn? You're good over there. Sean Pimentel is over here one more time. Make some noise for our house band.
Yes.
And we would also be remiss if we didn't mention the guy that brought us all together, Danny Kennedy over here.
Mahalo, brother.
Stand up, Danny.
7-time Nahoku Hano Hano Award winner, the founder of the Mana'o Company.
Mana'o Company.
Daniel Kalahui, Spencer-Kennedy.
Ika boom shakalaka, yeah? O ka leo nahe o kamakane o ke ala ula ika boom shakalaka a mana ke a dan huala lai saka demen te picha hale a kala.
Danny gonna punch my face after this because I would introduce him. He likes to be in the background, but we're so stoked to have the reunion over here because there are 7 original members of Nava'i Ho'olu'u Keanu and are currently on this stage. The 4 of them and the 3 of us. So, yeah, Shaw, do you remember? Star Dancer days. Back in the day, I was on a Star Dancer with you guys.
I know.
So we are the 7 original ladies of Nava'i.
Yeah, you guys are way older than me. I used to sneak on the star dancer.
Please.
Way older. Way older.
Don't make me sit on you, Mele.
All right, and they're here to perform a very classic song that is really brings us all together. We sing it almost everywhere. Anytime we get on a Hawaiian event, we're singing this song. Kolana Nā Pua first appears, submitted by its composer, Ellen Kekoho Vaikalani Wright Prendergast, on February 10th, 1893. And that's why Lena does most of the reading all the time, because I'm messing it up already. The text for this mele was published in Kaleo o Kalahui, whose editor at the time was Joseph Kaho'oluhi Navahi. Navahi is well known. Right on? Yeah, please. Please. Just to clarify, they're clapping for Navahi, not for me, not for my reading. We all know this anyway. So, Navahi is well known for his staunch support of the Hawaiian Kingdom government and Queen Liliuokalani. The title of this first iteration, Heohu no Kapo'e Aloha ʻāina, reinforces the use of Aloha ʻāina in context of patriotism. This song was written to document the Lahui's adamant protest against the action of the usurpers on January 17, 1893. An often sung act of resistance, this song represents a persistent historical thread which demands we examine the events of that day. As a call to action, this mele presents a response to an attack on our nation and details this sentiment in poetry of Hawaii for an American audience. Banned by contract from speaking about the political issues of her country, she instead imbued this mele with its deep sentiments of Aloha ʻāina. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nāwai Ho'olu'u o ke Ānuenue.
Kalananapu marks the end of our mele from the 1800s. Contemporary Hawaiian music exemplifies the perseverance of our people, language, and culture. We acknowledge our past, hold fast to our kupuna as we move into the future. And when Kumuhula John Keola Lake traveled to Aotearoa, New Zealand, he was inspired by the Maori natives there. So he wrote a mele based on the Maori song Na'ivi'e. Oivi'e is not a translation of Na'ivi'e, but the sentiments are similar. Oivi'e is about the natives standing proud together and looking towards their ancestors for guidance and direction. Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude our wonderful celebration, our aha mele on this beautiful day, our aloha ʻāina, we celebrate our people. We celebrate our kupuna. No matter what we've been through, we're going to holomua because together we rise. We rise by lifting each other up. So ladies and gentlemen, as we say mahalo to all of our professors and Dr. Keanu Sai, and all of you, each and every one of you here, and all of your kupuna that you bring into this space, we say mahalo a nui loa. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Navai Ho'olua Ke Anui Nui with Oivi'e.
Hey,
Hawaii's her Navai ho'olua ke nue nue.
Love that. That's so awesome.
When I heard that, I wanted to do the kind yada. Like that, yeah.
You were doing it back here, sis. I had my own show
No,
back
I wanted
here.
to go over there and for them, you know. But the
Yeah.
camera is on right now. We want to say aloha to everyone tuning in right now at NHSS on Facebook. Everybody say aloha. Wish you guys were here. If you guys are tuning in right now on Facebook, we ask that you guys also share this video so we can share the message around the world. So everyone tuning in on Facebook, mahalo anuilo for tuning in here at the beautiful UH campus right now. Ladies and gentlemen, navai ho'olua ke nue nue.
Hey, sis, since she's letting the cat out of the bag, you might as well let them know. Mahalo to Kanai Okana. Can we make some noise for Kanai
Kanai
Okana?
Okana.
Love the work that you guys
Yes.
do. And they're actually doing some filming today. So we're going to take the footage and then we're going to be piecing together a special that we will be airing on La Ho'i Ho'i Ea coming up on July 31st. Yeah, Lena girl? Okay. She and my wife are like the brains of our operation, so I just got to check with you guys.
And these are the donkeys.
We just go.
I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
joking.
we
I'm
just
joking,
go.
but I'm honest. Right?
We don't want always scrapping at the restaurant. If you saw us before, we scrap with each other, but it's okay.
Brother, we go. And it's Lena and Candace going, wait, put the brakes on, wheel us back.
Yes, especially since I think my sister was signing us off that was the end of the event. It's not.
Yeah,
we
no.
have more music.
Sorry.
We was going Hanoho and Hanoho and Hanoho because still
I
get
was
3
in
more
Hanoi
songs,
again.
I think.
I never see the second page. I was getting all excited. And the heat is getting hot in here. Lona, can you put up the air condition? Oh, I'm getting Manapua steaming over here. Keanu! Thank goodness I put extra baby powder, I tell you. Sorry, fat girl problems, they're suffering over
Oh,
here.
you stopped using cornstarch. What happened? I thought you were using cornstarch.
I used to use cornstarch, but when you rub, the thing make dumplings, you know. Safa, I tell you, I'm hot.
By the way, Mele, how much? We got so many stars here.
I know.
How much would a ticket for this concert cost us?
Like $1,000. We get all these mega superstars on stage. You guys are lucky. You guys are here with the biggest music stars in Hawaii. Everybody make some noise. You guys have no idea. These are legends, iconic musicians. Barra, bowing down, yes.
You know, my sister's getting excited because she's getting closer and closer to you, the audience.
Kiana, watch out. She's going to tackle you pretty
I
soon.
know. She's going to sit on your lap. Oh, boy.
She like me on the Regency board. What's going on, Mele? She's throwing hints right now.
I'm trying hit now. Oh, Kuma Mau action over here. Sorry, I'm just hot.
Okay, Hots, come sit down. Have some water. I'm going to introduce this next few songs.
Okay,
Is
Tina,
that okay?
thank you.
Thank you,
Because
sis.
you hot too, Mary.
Oh my gosh. All right. So this is a beautiful medley of music. Sorry, my lady, for that. Yeah? Yeah, okay, sorry. But can I talk a little bit about these songs? Especially this first one by Auntie Haunani, Apoliona. While working at Alulike, she wrote this song to remind us of Hawaiian values and concepts and how they can fit into today's contemporary society. Now, she wrote this song back in 1979. Everything that she writes in this song is apropos to today. By the example of our kupuna who work together harmoniously in the spirit of cooperation to accomplish a shared goal. So Mailani is going to start off with that beautiful song, and then we go into a song that you wrote, yeah, sister? Written with Ikaika Nihipali in 2020. This was during our isolation. Everybody stuck in their houses. What can we do? So my tita writes music. This song is about the struggle to be Hawaii in today's ever-changing and oft-time foreign impositions. The composers reflected to the core of themselves with a focus on the people and places they come from. It's a reminder to remember, to hold the line, to remember the beauty of our homeland through our shared experiences. And at that time, it was to stay home and not leave because we have a kuleana to protect and maintain our Hawaii. Again, that message still apropos today. We need to protect and maintain our Hawaii. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a beautiful Oiwi medley. Alulike, Hawaii Nui Kuauli. This is Mailani Makainai.
Oh, you know the words, feel free to sing along. E alulike mai na ko. Mahalo. I just want to make a quick dedication. Mahalo nui to each and every one of you for being here. Thank you to Keanu Sai and to the Ohana for inviting me. Danny, to Ulalea over here in the back, going to do beautiful things for our people and to help people who are also not Hawaiian living in Hawaii to understand Hawaii even more so. This mele Hawaii nui kuauli, I actually want to dedicate, if they're watching, and if they're not, maybe we can share it to them, is Kaniela Ng's son. He's 6 years old, and we're talking about decolonizing the mind. Just yesterday, we saw something pretty unreal. This 6 years old, his name is Laguna Kekipi Jabola Ng. He's 6 years old. He attends a school called Lincoln Elementary in Eva Beach. And these keikis all learn songs to honor President Lincoln. And here's this 6-year-old who comes to his father, Kaniela, and he says, "Daddy, I went on YouTube and I saw that this Abraham Lincoln guy killed many Sioux native tribes. He created crimes against humanity and he used the N-word. And so I don't want to sing and dance for President Abraham Lincoln." And Kaniela Singh said, "Okay, well, what do you want to do?" He said, "I want to hold a sign that talks about the truth about who we are. Why don't we celebrate ourselves? And I want to stand while everything's going on, all the kids are dancing." And so Kaniela, as a father, he said, "Well, if that's what you want to do, son, it's unpopular, but if you want to do that, then I'll be there with you." And so here's this little 6-year-old with a sign that he wanted. He told his father what to put on the sign. And he stands there with a sign with his hand up like that during this performance that honors Abraham Lincoln. And the crowd was split. You know, some Hawaiians, some people understood what was taking place, and some Hawaiians did not understand what was taking place. And it became pretty disgusting and nasty. People were swearing and throwing profanities at this family and this little boy, this little 6-year-old boy. Some families felt like, you know, our kids worked so hard for this performance, and on and on and on. This is not the time and place. But Kaniela asks the right questions. Then when is the right time and place for us to know the truth, to share the truth, and to celebrate our leaders? And so, Kaniela, if your son is watching Laguna, I'm dedicating this to you, and I wish I was there standing with you when this was going on. And so thank you to each and every one of you for being here and learning more and helping me learn more too. Mahalo.
I am the navigator who reads the winds, the sea and stars to guide the way. I am the warrior descended from the strong and proud who fight each day. The beauty of my islands, Hawaii nui kuauli. I am the dancer, the story told through song and chant from his sway. I am the healer, gathering plants, teacher of heart, to God we pray. The beauty of my island, want you here, together loud and clear, a resounding shout, oh. The beauty of my islands, Hawaii, nui kuauli. Beyond the people, this is our land. Beyond the voices, together we must stand. Hawaii, nui kuauli. Beyond the people, this is our land. Beyond the voices, together we must stand. Hawaii, nui kuauli.
Mahalo. Ladies and gentlemen, my lani maka'aina, everybody. And sister, for those people who are watching, what's the big Kiki's name? La Luna. Laguna. We saw that story unfold all on the 10 o'clock news. I mean, really, it was heart-wrenching. And for a little 6-year-old to stand to ku'e and let people know about our people. And, you know, I saw how hard it was for him to stand there with his father Kaniala and their ohana. It was heart-wrenching. But I'm calling it now that boy is going to be an incredible champion of our people in the near future. So, Laguna, we're waiting for you, baby. He's going to be another hero that will be written in the history books of Hawaii. One more time, my lani maka'aina, everybody. Beautiful, sister. Beautiful. Beautiful.
We'd like to welcome our beautiful Amy Hanaiali'i back to the stage with this particular song, which she wrote and penned, written in 1997 to acknowledge the sacrifices and to honor Queen Liliuokalani, the last reigning monarch to reside in Iolani Palace. The mele captures the grief and mourning Amy felt as she toured the Iolani Palace, and oh my goodness, yeah, that can get rough sometimes, especially that movie in the beginning part, yeah, when they take you into the basement and oh, you know. She was enveloped by the heaviness that the palace emanates today, and so she wrote this song. This is Haliali'i o Waimaka, Amy Hanaiali'i Gilia.
Mahalo. Actually, Uncle Willie K and I co-wrote this song together. We wrote it in 5 minutes. We got into the car. We were so moved. It talks about physically walking up the stairs and seeing koa wood everywhere. And I kept asking, you know, who are all these people on the walls? There are all these royals from around the world. And then we went into the blue room, and that's where our queen found out she was going to no longer have her throne. So I hope you enjoy it. Ai hai laila he hale ali he hale ali kaumaha loa au he Papa hele pai Mahalo nui for having me today. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Keanu. Mahalo nui. Thank you, Danny. Aloha.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amy Hanaiali'i. Get up on your feet, everybody.
Beautiful.
She's a legend. She's an icon. Multi-Nahoku Hana Award superstar. And you need to come back on stage, Hanai. We're going to call all of our beautiful entertainers up on stage as we mahalo each and every one of you folks. And round of applause for all of our entertainers today, everybody. These are music icons. Multi-Nahoku Hana Award stars. Grammy Award nominees. You name it. Round of applause for our house band, everybody. Glenn Maeda, our sound guy, Lono. Round of applause for the next generation. Hey, Ua, everybody. Come, Danny. Come, Pono. Auntie Marlene. Auntie, come. She's also a multi-Nahoku Hana Award superstar. Come, Auntie. Sing with us, Auntie. One of our greatest mentors right here. I'm going to preserve you, Auntie. Of Keanu Sai, Dr. Keanu Sai, our Ohana up here. Our Mele Apana, Davy D, Lena Girl, our Ohana up here. Everybody, mahalo to each and every one of you. The legacy of our people, our Hawaiian Kingdom, our kupuna, our ancestors will live on forever. From all of us to all of you, aloha.